Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗺𝗔𝗂𝘁𝗵 on Wattpad. Now let's start. After the events of the Yakuza raid and fight against overhaul, 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗲 Midoriya decides to visit Eri at the hospital and everything changes as he opens the door to Eri's room. Now let's begin. I was walking through the hallways of the hospital looking for the girl I saved Eri's hospital room, and once I did, I opened the door to see a scared Eri at a corner of a wall shaking and crying, and I looked up to understand why as I saw a doctor holding a needle on his hand, which I then understood why is Eri so scared. I panicked and ran towards Eri, and she noticed me and she ran towards me, which she lands in my arms shaking and crying saying, "Papa, help me, he is trying to hurt me." I was shocked to hear her say Papa, but I ignored it as I said while patting her back, "It is all right Eri, I am here." Hearing those words, she calmed down, still clinging on to me. I then glared at the doctor and said, "Have you forgotten this little girl was experimented on and you are here holding a goddamn needle and wanting to do test on her when she still hasn't gotten past the trauma?" As I suddenly raised my voice out of rage, not realizing I activated full cowling. I then heard a bang on the doctor, and suddenly seeing the doctor wrapped up in a scarf, as I turned back I see Mr. Aizawa, who had the doctor wrapped around his capture scarf with his hair floating up and his eyes glowing red, saying, "You dare do that to Eri, I'll have to talk with you outside with the head doctor," as his hair and eyes went back to normal, and also saying, "Don't worry problem child, take care of Eri, I'll be dealing with him," as Mr. Aizawa pulled the doctor, who was scared when Mr. Aizawa used his quirk as he left the room. I then looked down to Eri, who said, "I is the 𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗃. I said, "Yes, he is gone, don't worry, you are safe, okay?" She then asked me, "I saw a man with black hair, he looked familiar." I replied saying, "Yes, as he was one of the people who also went to save you," I said while giving her a gentle smile. She said, Oh, okay, can I say thank you to him later?" I said, "Of course you can." I also asked, "Would you like me to stay here with you Eri?" as I felt her hugging me more tightly, saying yes please. I then carried her to her bed, got on the bed with her and pulling up the sheets to make her feel warmer. I remembered her calling me Papa, so I thought this would be a good time to ask, so I asked, "Hey Eri," as she looked up, "You called me Papa earlier, why did you call me that?" After hearing that she said, Sorry, it is just that when I first met you and the day you saved me and when you hugged me and held me tightly I felt so warm and safe, something I never felt before, and you showed so much care that I thought of you as my Papa." Those words shocked me, but I was happy too, and I looked at her as I have made a decision that will change my life forever, but I know that I won't regret it. I looked down at Eri, I said, "Eri," as she looked up as I said, "You can call me Papa, I will be glad to be your Papa," as she suddenly hugged me so tightly as she looked up, and I saw her smile for the first time when I remembered her calling me Papa, so I thought this would be a good time to ask, so I asked, "Hey Eri," as she looked up, "You called me Papa earlier, why did you call me that?" After hearing that she said, Sorry, it is just that when I first met you 55, as she said, "Thank you Papa," as she cried tears of joy and eventually fell asleep. Not long after I heard the door open, as I looked towards the door as I saw Mr. Aizawa walking in and All Might walking right behind him. As I was about to stand up, All Might said, "It is all right young Midoriya, just stay where you are." So I stayed on the bed as I said, "Good afternoon All Might and Mr. Aizawa." As Mr. Aizawa said, "Hello problem child, I have dealt with that doctor, apparently he didn't care about what happened to Eri in the past but just wanted to get his job done." As I heard it, one of my hand was patting Eri's head while the other was crushing the sheets. All Might said, "Calm down young Midoriya, we have dealt with that doctor, tomorrow young Eri will have a new doctor, the best one in this hospital." I calmed down and as I said, "Thank you," for suddenly Mr. Aizawa's scarf was moving as Principal Nizu popped out of it as I said, "Oh good afternoon Principal Nizu," as he replied saying, Good afternoon to you too young Midoriya, how is young Eri?" And I replied, "She is all right now." As he continued saying, "I noticed young Eri is quite attached to you. I would like to know why." As I heard the question I was hesitant at first, but I looked at Eri and remembering what she said I smiled and said, "She called me Papa." This shocked the 3 people in the room. I continued saying, "I was shocked as well, but when I asked her why she said she felt warm and safe for the time and so she thought of me as her Papa." All Might then said, "Young Midoriya, did you say you will be Papa?" I said, yes, yes I did. This shocked the three people in the room even more as I continued saying, you guys must be shocked and worried that how will I be able to cope with school while taking care of Eri, but I have thought this through. I will take care of Eri and making her the happiest she can be from now on. This made Mr. Aizawa and All Might smile with both saying, I respect your decision, problem child, young midoriya. Principal Nizu then said, since that will be the case I shall get the adoption papers ready. 6 As I looked down at Eri and said softly, you will not just be Eri anymore, you are now Eri Midoriya, my daughter. This will be the next day after Izuku Midoriya has wished to adopt Eri, and now Eri has woken up from the small nap. Now let's begin. For a while after the teachers and Principal Nizu had left the room, Eri had woken up from her nap and I said, hey Snowflake, would you like to wash up then eat some food while watching the TV? She stood up and said, okay Papa. I smiled as I brought her to the bathroom while I wait outside as she washes up. I remembered before the teachers left, the new doctor came in and said to me, I know this little girl has suffered a lot, but I hope you are able to help her to finish her test and she can leave and see the beauty of this world that she has never seen before. I smiled and said, I will do my best, thank you doctor, as the doctor smiled and left the room. I looked at the bathroom door open as Eri walked out and she lifted her hands up wanting me to carry her, so I lifted her up and we walked to the bed as some people in the hospital came to give the food, so I sat Eri on my lap and she looked at the food giving a confused look. She said, Papa, is this the food? Why does it look not like the porridge or injections that overhaul gave me? As I heard it I was pissed, but I calmed down and said, this is the food Snowflake is what Papa and other people eat too. This is real food. Eri nodded. BT was confused on how to eat it, so I asked, would you like me to feed you Snowflake? She said, yes please. So I fed her and when she took the first bite she said, it is delicious. I was glad to hear that she liked the food while I turned on the TV while she continued eating. 12 When she finished eating I asked Eri, hey Snowflake. She looked up to me as I continued, you know the doctor needs to do some test right? As she heard it she was shaking a little as I calmed her down while she said, they won't hurt me right Papa? Yes, yes they won't Snowflake, and if you like I will be here with you while you do the test. She gave a soft smile knowing that I will be with her while she does the test. Eri then said, okay Papa, I am ready. I smiled and I called the doctor as to do the test. All Might then walked through the doors after Eri had finished her test. Eri was scared at first seeing All Might, but I calmed her down and said, he is not a bad man, he is my mentor, he is All Might who is also the #1 hero. As she heard it she calmed down and said, hello. All Might then replied saying, hello young Eri, I hope I didn't scare you, I just wanted to check up on you and young Midoriya. As All Might gave a soft smile to Eri. I noticed All Might holding something in his hand, so I asked, All Might, what is that you are holding? He said, young Midoriya, remember when you wished to adopt Eri? Well, Principal Nizu got you the papers and now I am passing them to you so you could sign it. Eri suddenly chimed in saying, what is adopt Papa? I said, adopt means after signing these papers I will officially be your Papa now. I smiled and SW Eri suddenly saying, really Papa, thank you, I love you so much. I was so happy to hear what she said while All Might was smiling in the background hearing such heartwarming words from the little girl. The next thing I thought off in my head was how was my other and class gonna react to it, and suddenly the face of someone our young Izuku Midoriya had a crush on, who is Momo Yaoyorozu. He wasn't like other guys who liked her or stared at her only for the body, but he liked her because of how confident and hardworking she is while still being caring and supportive to others as well. Little did he know that Momo liked him too. She liked him during the sports festival after seeing how courageous and determined he was and how he was willing to sacrifice a higher spot in the sports festival so that Todoroki could use his fire side. Well, actually since then two clueless lovers became closer and closer till even some people in the class noticed it, notably Uraraka, who doesn't like him in this story but just sees him as a brother figure, Todoroki, Jiraiya, Mina, and surprisingly Bakugo himself. Bakugo and Midoriya have become closer ever since their fight against each other, being friends but yet rivals at the same time, but Bakugo is still sometimes the angry Pomeranian that we know and love. 25 Izuku first called his mom telling her to come visit the hospital as she came, and he told her everything that happened. Surprisingly, Eri wasn't scared of her as she saw 𝗏𝗏. She looked similar to her papa, and when 𝗏𝗏 rushed to give Izuku a hug she felt a similar warmth her papa had, so she was calm. When Izuku told 𝗏𝗏, hey mom, well this is Eri Midoriya, my adopted daughter, I was scared on how she would react. Surprisingly, she hugged both me and Eri tightly saying, "Oh my god, my baby boy has a daughter, I have granddaughter," as I giggled and said, "Yes mom." She smiled and we looked to see Eri giggling saying, "Grandma, your hug is tickling me." Both my mother and I smiled, and after a while 𝗏𝗏 said something which shocked me. "Well Izuku, I was talking to your friend Momo, she seemed very worried for you." I was shocked hearing my mother talk to Momo, but I was wondering how they met, and 𝗏𝗏 replied, "I was out to get groceries as I bumped into her and we talked. She was a very kind and polite girl. She was saying many great things about you." This made me blush hearing it. My mother continued saying, "You like her, don't you?" I looked at her and nodded slowly. My mother continued saying, "My baby boy, maybe you should take the opportunity to tell her that you love her. Confess your love. Stop hiding it. From what I can tell, she loves you too." This made me perk up my head, hesitant at first, but I said, "Okay mom, I will call her tomorrow," with a determined look. For as this will be my chance to finally tell the girl, the Momo Yaoyorozu, that I love her. This will continue from the previous part where Izuku Midoriya has decided to finally confess his love to Momo Yaoyorozu, and also by the way, during the raid Izuku had a growth spurt and is now 178 centimeters or 5 feet 10 inches. So now let's begin. 22. It was a new morning. The rest of the class decided to visit their families for a few days while I stayed in the dorms, only to hear my phone ringing. As I looked, I realized it was Izuku. I haven't heard from him since the raid, so I was worried for the person I had feelings for, so I picked up the phone. I heard his gentle voice. "Hey Momo." I responded saying, "Oh my god Izuku, are you alright? Where are you?" He continued saying, "I am at the hospital taking care of Eri, and I wanted you to be the first few people to meet her." I was shocked to hear that he was with Eri, and more shocked that he wanted me to be the first few people to meet her. I replied and said, "Sure, of course, I would love to meet her. I'll be there shortly." He said, "Okay, thank you Momo, I will like to talk to you about something later as well. See you soon." As he ended the call, I blushed at the last few words he said, and I thought, 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏. Then I took a deep breath and calmed down as I went to get ready and made some breakfast. I made some for Izuku and Eri as well as I headed to the hospital to visit them. Once I arrived to Eri's room, I opened the door to see Eri and Izuku giggling while the TV, and Izuku looked to the side to see me at the door smiling. I was watching the TV with Eri as I saw Momo at the door. I was happy to see her and nervous as I was worried what would happen when I tell her my feelings, but then Eri looked at the direction of where I was looking only to see Momo. She was nervous, but she was okay. Momo walked in and said, "Hey Izuku, how are you?" "I am good," I replied back to her. She continued saying, "Is this Eri?" As I nodded, and she went to look at Eri and said, "Hello Eri, I am Momo Yaoyorozu, one of Izuku's friends." Eri then said, "You are one of Papa's friends." I was shocked to hear her call Izuku Papa, but Izuku told me everything, even the adoption. I was shocked to hear he was willing to adopt her, but in my heart I wished I was her mother. Izuku looked to me and said, "Hey Momo, what is that you are holding?" I replied with, "Oh, I was making some breakfast and I decided to make some for you and Eri as well." Izuku then said, "Thank you Momo." Eri also said, "Thank you Momo." I smiled, and seeing how Eri was so close to Izuku, I went to Eri and asked, "Hey Eri, what is something you would like to have right now?" Eri looked up and said, "I want a Papa plushie." So I activated my quirk and made some plushies of Izuku with all his different hero suits. Eri's eyes shined brightly as she let out a bright smile saying, "Thank you Mama," as she jumped up and hugged me tightly saying, "Thank you Mama," as she jumped up and hugged me tightly. 25. But I remembered what she said and I blushed. I looked at Izuku. His face was shining bright red. Eri then let go as she played with the plushies as 𝗏𝗏 walked through the doors and said, "Oh Momo, I see that you are here. Good morning." I replied saying, "Oh good morning Mrs. Midoriya, yeah, I came to visit after Izuku gave me a call." 𝗏𝗏 replied saying, "Please call me 𝗏𝗏," as I said, "Oh okay 𝗏𝗏." Izuku had gotten out of the bed and hugged his mother and said good morning. 𝗏𝗏 then looked at Eri and Eri at her and said, "Grandma, see my Papa plushies that Momo made." 𝗏𝗏 said, "Oh wow, that's very of you Momo." And Eri, did you say thank you to her? Eri nodded the head happily as she continued playing with the plushies. One Izuku said to 𝗏𝗏, "Hey mom, can you take care of Eri for a while? I want to go outside and talk to Momo this." Mom replied saying of course, as she winked at me and walked towards Eri, leaving me to blush knowing why she did that. So I went to Momo and said, "Hey Momo, let's talk outside." Momo replied saying of course Izuku, as both of them walked together. One they went to the rooftop of the hospital and Momo asked, "Hey Izuku," as he looked at her nervously but still smiling, "why do you want to talk to me?" Izuku then said, "Momo, actually I wanted to say thank you for always being there for me, always there to support me and cheer me up, and I've always wanted to tell you something, and seeing how you were with Eri, I just wanted to say." I blushed bright red as he continued saying, "I love Momo Yaoyorozu, would you like to be my girlfriend?" I was shocked and was so happy to hear that the person I love loves me back too, and so I replied saying, I would love to be your girlfriend," and I ran towards him and hugged each other, then looking at each other's eyes locked in as we leaned in and kissed. 7 in my head, "I am finally together with you Izuku, I will never let you go." As 2 minutes passed, the both pulled away panting, both saying, "Wow, it felt great," as Momo then said, panting, "Have loved you since the sports festival, from how determined you were to how you were willing to sacrifice everything to help your friends, just like what you did with Todoroki, to how you didn't treat me like how other guys did just for my body or family name. Instead you were always supportive and willing to help me, and that is why I love you too Izuku midoriya," as he smiled and said, "I am glad I get to finally tell you my feelings, and I promise that I will do my best to make you happy." I smiled and said, "I know you will," as we smiled and then planted our lips on each other and kissed. After that Izuku said to me, asking me, "Hey Momo." I looked up to him as he continued, "Would you like to be Eri's mother?" I was excited and said, "Yes, of course." I smiled as she continued saying, "This is the start of our family, and I hope to have more kids in the future with you so we could have a big happy family together." I smiled and said, "Okay, this shall be the start of the new Midoriya family. Let's tell my mother and Eri the news, shall we?" As he held my hand and I said, "Sure Aizu." He was slightly shocked with the nickname, but he smiled as we walked back to Eri's hospital room. For we returned to Eri's room to see Eri and my mom playing with the plushies Momo made for me. Inko looked only to see her son and Momo holding hands as she said, "Oh, I see you finally told her, and don't worry Momo, I approved both you together for a while now. You have my blessing, and please take care of Izuku for me." Momo looked to her and said, "Thank you Inko, I will take care of him," as I smiled. Eri smiled and said, "Hello Papa." "Hello Momo." We both said, "Hello, Eri, Snowflake." I said to Eri, "Hey Snowflake," as she looked up as we continued saying, "Would you like to have a mama?" She smiled and said, "Of course I want to have a mama, but mama must love papa too." That was what grandma said. Mama and papa must love each other and love their children together. We smiled and Momo said, "Hey Eri, I love your papa. Me and him are together now and we both love each other, so I want to ask you, can I be your mama?" Eri said, "Of course Momo no is mama now. Thank you for being my mama. Please love papa and take care of him too, okay?" For as she let out her signature innocent and bright smile which touched the hearts of the 3 people in the room, as Momo continued saying, "Of course I will. I love you and your papa. I will take care of both of you like how he will take care of us too." 7 as she let out her signature innocent and bright smile which touched the hearts of the 3 people in the room, as Momo continued saying, "Of course I will. I love you and your papa. I will take care of both of you like how he will take care of us too," as I smiled continuing saying, "I love you my little angel. Mama will never leave you or your papa." Eri smiled as we saw tears of joy coming from her as she hugged me tightly, crying saying thank you and then falling asleep in my chest. One Inko was tearing up seeing such a wholesome moment, while Izuku gave me a kiss and said, "I love you Momo and Eri, and let's be a happy family," as Izuku took the adoption papers and both him and Momo signed the papers, and now Eri is not just the girl saved from the yakuza but instead the daughter of Izuku Midoriya and Momo Yaoyorozu, and she now goes by the name of plus Eri Midoriya. Hey everyone, thank you for reading this part. This is not the end of the story, so stay tuned for future parts. Thank you for reading. This is after Izuku and Momo officially adopt Eri, and now she is Eri Midoriya. So now let's begin. After submitting the adoption papers, Izuku, Momo and Inko were playing with Eri when they heard the door open to see Mr. Aizawa, All Might, Principal Nizu and the doctor. They stopped playing as Eri saw Mr. Aizawa and ran to him, which shocked him as she said, "Papa said you were one of the people that went to save me and you got that doctor away from me yesterday too, so thank you mister." This made Aizawa give a gentle smile while patting her head and said, "You're welcome kid," as Eri noticed Principal Nizu and was curious to who he was, but he just told her he is a rat and he is also the principal at the shul. Izuku is at this made Eri call him Uncle Nizu. Seeing All Might she said, "Hello Grandpa Might." This made All Might feel so touched hearing her say that as he replied, "Hello young 𝐴𝐻𝐸," as he gave her a gentle smile. The doctor then said to Izuku, "Well, midoriya 𝐴𝐻𝐸's tests are alright and she can be discharged tonight, but she has some vitamin deficiencies, so before you leave please collect some vitamin pills for 𝐴𝐻𝐸." I replied saying, "I see, okay, thank you doctor," as the doctor smiled and left. Then All Might saw Momo and said, "Young Yaozu, why are you here?" Momo replied saying, "Oh All Might, well Izuku asked me to come here and I became his girlfriend and we adopted 𝐴𝐻𝐸 together." This made the people that entered the room shocked. 5 Principal 𝗲𝗬 then said, "What a surprise, well I am glad young 𝐴𝐻𝐸 here has 2 amazing parents to take care of her now." Then both Izuku and both then said, "Thank you Principal 𝗲𝗬," as he nodded. Then Mr. Aizawa then said, "I see you got yourself someone problem child, hopefully you don't cause any more problems after." This made the lovers blush at the sentence while Momo said, "Don't worry Mr. Aizawa, everything will be fine," as he nodded, as All Might said looking at 𝐴𝐻𝐸 who ran towards Momo and Izuku hugging them. "Young 𝐴𝐻𝐸, I have to say you have 2 amazing parents to look after you." This made 𝐴𝐻𝐸 turn to All Might and say, Papa and Mama are the best. Mama also made me Papa plushies," as 𝐴𝐻𝐸 showed her Deku plushies to All Might as he Mr. Aizawa and Principal 𝗲𝗬 smiled looking at the warming sight. 2 Principal 𝗲𝗬 then said, "Young midoriya, you don't have to worry about taking care of 𝐻𝗲𝐸 financially. UA will be giving you some money to take care of 𝐻𝗲𝐸, and maybe young Momo and Mrs. Midoriya here we will pass you money to maybe buy clothes and essentials for 𝐻𝗲𝐸." The lovers nodded and said, "Thank you Principal 𝗲𝗬." 𝗲𝗬 then added on saying, "Young midoriya and young Momo, would you like for me to have 𝗬𝗏𝗃 to combine both your rooms together so the 2 of you and young 𝐻𝗲𝗸 can be together?" Both of them looked at each other and nodded saying, "We would love to thank you Principal 𝗲𝗬," as he nodded and smiled as Principal 𝗲𝗬 passed Izuku a credit card which was under his name to him and passed another one to Momo as well, as he said, "Young Yaozu, I know you have quite the family background and can use your own money, but you don't have to, as you can use this for just you and your new family." This made Momo and smile saying, "Thank you Principal 𝗲𝗬." Izuku passed his card to 𝐭 saying, "Mom, do you and Momo want to go get some clothes and other items for 𝐻𝗲𝗍 later?" She smiled as she said, "Of course." This made my spine shiver for a second, thinking of how much my mother would spend on her grandchild. 8 The teachers and principal then left too and returned to UA while Momo and 𝗏 went to pack all of the things in the hospital room and Izuku went downstairs to collect the vitamin pills for 𝐻𝗲𝗍. After that is done, Momo went to 𝗲𝗍𝗍 and said, "Hey Angel, you are leaving the hospital and you will go to our dorm at you." This made 𝗲𝗍𝗍 curious, surprisingly not nervous, as she said, "Will there be a lot of people?" Momo replied saying, "Right now the others are visiting their families, so you won't be seeing them, but you can meet them when they return if you like." 𝗲𝗍𝗍 said, "Okay Mama, they are your friends right and not bad people?" Momo nodded telling her, "They are amazing people and are not bad people." This made 𝗲𝗍𝗍 give a gentle smile and saying, "If Mama say they are alright, 𝗲𝗍𝗍 will try too." This made Momo smile and 𝗏 was smiling at the background. 2 𝗏 drove her car with her when she came to visit, so the 3 of them brought the things into the car as they drove off with 𝗲𝗍𝗍 sitting in between Momo and Izuku while 𝗏 was driving. 𝗲𝗍𝗍 then moved to Izuku's lap and was looking through the window saying, "Wow, so many building, and what are the things shiny so up in the sky Papa?" Izuku replied saying, "Those are stars, they are the things that light up the sky when it is dark along with the moon." Surprisingly it was just 6:30 p.m. in the even, but the stars and moon were already shining, and after hearing that 𝗲𝗍𝗍 was looking at the sky the whole ride through while Momo moved to sit closer to Izuku hugging his arm and leaning on his shoulder. The new couple looked at each other saying, "I love you, Izuku, Momo," as they share a kiss. 𝗏 heard them and looked at the front mirror and smiled seeing how much her son has grown. Once they arrive to UA they see Mr. Aizawa and All Might standing at the front door of the dorms as All Might said, "Good to see you guys have arrived. Principal 𝗲𝗍 is still busy so he won't be here, but we would like to show you your new dorm room." Everyone nodded as All Might and Mr. Aizawa helped to carry some of the things as they brought them to their new dorm. 𝗲𝗍𝗍 was holding onto Momo's hand on one side and Izuku on the other with 𝗏 following behind. They reached to the highest level of the dorm. As the door opened they saw a living room, kitchen, a few bedrooms and a playroom, a spa, swimming pool and gym, built for them with all the things in their rooms before already in the home with Izuku's All Might collection in a room but not the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 bedroom that Momo and Izuku will be sleeping in. This made the lovers shocked and said, "While they didn't need to do so much," as Mr. Aizawa said, Nizu wanted to do something to make Eri feel like home and giving her a larger living space besides a one-room dorm. The lovers smiled and said thank you as Eri was asking her parents, Papa, Mama, is this our new home? As the two of them nodded and said, yes, Snowflake, Angel. This made her smile. Once she ran around her new home as Inko said to her son, hey Izuku, I would like to bring Momo and I to buy some things for Eri if you don't mind. I said of course, but was nervous since the sky was getting darker, but I then looked at Momo as she understood why I was nervous and she showed a stun gun, pepper spray and a gun with RBB bullets just in case they run into any perverts or thieves get in their way. This made Izuku calm down and said, alright then you guys can go buy some things while I pack the home. They smiled as they got Eri with them and told her they are buying some clothes and other things for her, which made her excited as Momo gave Izuku one more kiss before they left to the mall, making Izuku's spine shiver once again thinking how much his girlfriend and mother are going to spend on Eri. 9. He looked at the new dorm and seeing Momo and his mother bringing Eri to the mall to buy things made him think to himself, I am so lucky right now, as he smiled and got to setting up the dorm with the help of All Might and Mr. Aizawa. A while later Izuku with the help of All Might and Aizawa finished setting up the new dorm. Izuku thanked them one last time and All Might said, you did great young midoriya, I hope you and your new family will continue to be joyful and happy. I smiled and looked at All Might saying, thank you All Might for everything. He smiled and left. Not long after Momo, Inko and Eri returned to the dorm, Izuku saw the amount of bag there were in the trolleys that Momo made with her quirk, which I wasn't shocked as I had a bad feeling that it would happen. I went to kiss Momo and hugged my mom, but I noticed Eri walking to the table as there were some fresh fruits which I brought from downstairs, and Eri picked an apple, then eating it, smiling and saying it's sweet. This made me and Momo look at each other and taking note that she loves apples. After they finished packing, Inko waved goodbye as Izuku and Momo insisted her on staying for the night, but she said it's okay, so she left, and then there was just me, Momo and Eri. I had taken a bath and Momo had just gotten out of the bathe also after helping Eri as well. We dried of our hair and watched some TV while cuddling each other. Then Eri started yawning and I asked her, hey Snowflake, are you tired? She nodded while rubbing her eyes, so we went to change into our pajamas with Momo helping Eri. We went on to the bed with Eri deciding to sleep in her own room as she wanted to try to be strong like her papa and fight against her past and not get nightmares. Momo and I supported her choice, but we read her a bedtime story before she fell asleep as both of us kissed her forehead and went to our room. Momo and I went to our room, got on the bed, cover ourselves with the bed sheets and cuddled while looking at each other as I said, thank you Momo for everything, I am very grateful and I love you so much. She replied and said, I have to thank you too Izuku for everything as well, I love you too, as the both of us kissed each other before saying goodnight and we fell asleep peacefully after having such an amazing day. This was after the new Midoriya family has fallen asleep, and no, it is the next day, and this chapter may or many no be longer than the others we have so far, so now let's begin. Izuku had woken up wondering what is why laying on his chest only to see a sleeping Momo on top of him as he smiled, played with her hair. A short while after she woke up and, good morning Aizu, good morning Momo. Izuku replied, giving her a kiss on the lips before saying, should we wash up and check up on Eri? Of course, I think she slept well and didn't have any nightmares and came into our room late at night, she said. As I smiled saying, that must be a very good sign, let's go wash up and see if she is awake or still sleeping, she nodded. One Momo's point of view, I woke up to my boyfriend giving me a kiss on the lips and now we are going to wash up and check up on our daughter, I smiled. Back to the couple after wash up, they went to check up on Eri only to see her sleeping soundly. We went to her and gave her a give her forehead while I said, good morning Snowflake. As Eri's eyes opened and she rubbed her eyes and said, good morning Papa, good morning Mama, good morning, Snowflake, Angel, we replied. Let's get you washed up and let have some breakfast. Momo came and said to her as Momo then brought Eri to wash up. I went to the fridge but realized that it was empty as I remembered we only both clothes and other necessities but not food. As Momo and Eri walked to the living room I said to Momo, hey honey. This made her blush, and I blushed too as I said that unknowingly. She then said in a cheeky tone, yes dear. I blushed but then I kissed her on the lips and said, if you want to say that I don't mind, as she nodded saying, oh look at you, in a cheeky tone. Then Eri looked at us and said, "𝗵𝗃 Mama and Papa you." As Momo and I giggled and I carried Eri and gave her a kiss on her right cheek while Momo kissed her on the left. This made her giggle, saying, "Mama Papa it tickles." We laughed and Momo finally said, "So Aiza, what did you want to say again?" I said, "Oh, we do not have anything in the fridge, so we have to cook breakfast downstairs." Momo then said, "Ah, I see." I looked a bit worried on how Eri may react to the rest of the class, but Momo said, "Don't worry Aiza, Eri told me yesterday at the hospital that she will be fine because she trusts us." She smiled and I smiled looking at Eri giving a determined look, and she said, "Papa is strong, I can be strong too." I was happy to hear it, so we walked to the main kitchen of the dorms. As we were walking down we heard some voices in the common room, so I looked at Momo as she nodded and went down to the common room first while I told Eri, "Hey Snowflake, Mama will tell the rest of the class that you are here so they won't be too loud, okay?" She nodded and said, "Okay Papa." In Momo's view, as I walked into the common room to see everyone in class 1A talking to each other, and my best friend 𝗬𝗁𝗍 came and said, "Hello Momo," as I replied back with, "Morning 𝗬𝗁𝗍," then the rest of the class said morning Momo/Yamamo/Yairzu. As I said morning to everyone I came and said, "Everyone, I need to tell you something, so please listen up." Everyone became quiet, and if you guys are wondering why Bakugo is not shouting, is that after the fight with Izuku he became more calm. But still angry, but not as much, and are ready to listen to what I wanted to say. Some of you may remember the girl that was saved at the raid. The class nodded. Well, those who were there know that Izuku fought Overhaul at the end and saved her. Those who were at the raid understood what I meant. Ida then came in and said, "So what is all this about, may I ask Yaoyorozu?" I said, "Well, actually when Izuku went to visit Eri she was at a corner scared of the doctor, but when she ran to Izuku and hugged him tightly but also called him Papa, this made the other class shocked, but Bakugo surprisingly said, knowing the nerd, he has decided to take up the responsibility to take care of her, isn't it?" I nodded and it made the class happy, while Ida, being Ida, stood up and said, "Midoriya is too young to be raising a child." Before anything else he got boinked on the head by Mei, who was actually hanging out with the rest of the class, saying, "Come on Ida, relax, you know Deku is capable of taking care of her," as he nodded and said, "My apologize," as he bowed and sat down. One 𝗬𝗁𝗍 then said, "Why are you telling this Momo?" I replied saying, "Well, Eri is here with Izuku and I went to visit them and I became close to Eri," but this made the class shipper Mina Ishido senses tingle as she said, "What do you mean close?" As I blushed red while the rest of the class already had a feeling that Izuku and I like each other, so I said, "Alright fine, well Aizu and I will confess and are now together and I have become Eri's mother." This made the whole class shocked, but all congratulated her with Mina happy that her ship has sailed. As Momo continued saying, "So when you meet Eri don't be too loud please," and as I glared at Mineta saying, "If you dare speak or do anything perverted to my daughter I will give you hell," as I made a rocket launcher facing directly at him as he was scared and sobbed, "Oh okay." I calmed down and said, "Good." 8 After hearing that I walked down with Eri, the whole class looked at me saying, "Welcome back Deku/nerd/Midoriya/Midobro." I replied saying, "Good morning guys." I smiled and kissed Momo, then Eri came in front of me and everyone looked down to see Eri saying, "Gee, good morning Papa and Mama said you are their friends, so hello, I am Eri Midoriya." The class was shocked to hear her say Midoriya at the end of her name, but they all smiled and said, "Good morning Eri," while some of the others came to her as. Bakugo was the first person who came to her and patted her head and said, "So you're the nerd's little girl, how well, don't worry, we are all here for you, don't have to be afraid anymore." As Bakugo smiled, then Kirishima came to her and said, "Hello Eri, I'm Kirishima, one of your dad's classmates. I have to say you have a very strong dad to look after you." Then Mei and Ida came and said, "Hello Eri, you Papa is very strong, but don't worry, we won't hurt you." As the both smiled, Jiro and Uraraka came in. Smiled said, "Wow, you're just as pretty as Momo," after getting other welcoming words from the class, and Eri smiled brightly. 3 After hearing that I walked down with Eri, the whole class looked at me saying, "Welcome back Deku/nerd/Midoriya/Midobro." I replied saying, "Good morning guys." I smiled and kissed Momo, then Eri came in front of me and everyone looked down to see Eri saying, "Thank you aunties and uncles, thank you." As they saw her smile, their heart squeezed seeing such a pure and innocent smile. The class then gave her a big hug and I said, "Have you guys eaten breakfast? I am going to make some," as saw Kaken, Todoroki and Kirishima saying, "Let me help," as I smiled and said, "Sure." As we went to the kitchen while Momo gave me a kiss before I went to 𝗏𝗧𝗏, she went to 𝗧𝗏𝗏 who was playing with the others in the class. We finished making breakfast and said, "Come eat your breakfast everyone." As everyone went to their table and saw pancakes, eggs and bacon with apple juice on the table and they start eating. Momo was feeding 𝗧𝗏𝗏 and I was feeding her. She then decided to feed me after 𝗧𝗏𝗏 said, "Mama, can I try to eat myself?" as she gave a determined look and Momo smiled saying, "Of course Angel, but I will still feed you for a couple more times over time cause I will," she said with a cheeky tone and gave 𝗧𝗏𝗏 a kiss on the cheek before we continued eating. After everyone finished eating and washed their plates, some people in the class came to play with 𝗧𝗏𝗏. Jiro played some music, Mei showing her babies, Mina dancing and others having fun have 𝗧𝗏𝗏 around. The class was full of joy and excitement. We then hear the door open to see Cammy walking through the doors. I was wonder why is she here, but Momo told me she was our new classmate and surprisingly Todoroki's girlfriend, as she helped him to be more social and helped bring the Todoroki family back together. This made me smile and happy hearing Todoroki and his family are doing okay. When saving Bakugo at 𝗵𝗏𝗄 ward, spoilers if you have not read the manga, and this is also just for my story as how it will be. So 𝗕𝗵𝗿, also known as Tsuyu Todoroki, Toga Himiko, twice, Mr. Compress, Main, Spinner, Kurogyari and lastly Shigaraki, also known as 𝗕𝗁𝗁, were caught by the heroes and were sent to rehab. Kurogyari, after being saved and Eraserhead using his quirk on him, he started to remember his true name being Oboro Shirakumo, and with the help of 𝗧𝗏𝗏 as Aizawa came to the hospital and made a request to 𝗧𝗏𝗏 to rewind Oboro, and she had control over it as Izuku and Momo were with her, so she was calm and relaxed and she rewinded him back before he died. And Oboro had feelings for Namuri Kiyama, also known as Midnight. Before he died she did as well, and so Midnight requested 𝗧𝗏𝗏 to make her younger, which she did, making Namuri 23 and Oboro 23, as well as 𝗧𝗏𝗏 was surprisingly able to make him 23 older, as well as her quirk rewind became semi-time manipulation. She can rewind someone to their older or younger self or stop time for a short period of time, but that part of her quirk she has yet to master. So the new couple got together happily with Aizawa and Mike, happy to see their best friend back and in love. Magna, Spinner and Mr. Compress went to help the hero commission. Toga became more stable and is not crazy for Izuku anymore, while he quirk became vampire, so superhuman strength, speed and senses with drinking BLD, making her 5 times stronger and shapeshift. She will be a underground hero student with Mr. Aizawa for her stealthy skills and quirk. Twice overcame the past trauma of his quirk with the help of Mandalay and actually went to help the Uraraka family with construction work, as Uraraka's family construction business flourished again, making Uraraka happier and able to visit her parents more often. After rehab, Principal Nizu brought Recovery Girl to help heal the scars of Tsuyu, and also his black hair dye has faded away and returned to his original snow-white color. Most of his scars have healed, just leaving behind some markings, which after the help of Recovery Girl and Endeavor realizing all his past mistakes, he apologized to Tsuyu and his children while he went to Rei, which he kneeled down and begged for her forgiveness, which she did, and ever since then the Todoroki family became happier than before. And lastly 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗁, who was actually helped by Izuku midoriya, as he helped Tenko to control his quirk, and now he activated at will and brought Recovery Girl to try and heal all the scratch marks he had due to the drawback of his quirk and gave him pills to stop that drawback. Tenko became happier. All Might then came to him and gave him a hug as Tenko asked if he could hear stories about his grandmother, which All Might gladly told with the help of Gran Torino as well. He also asked for the help of All Might to build a grave for his last family members. He is now working at UA to help people with past traumatic experiences. Surprisingly, Oboro asked Aizawa, "Hey Shota, have you asked out Emmy yet?" This made Aizawa blush, but he said, "No, but she is still trying to ask me to marry her." This made Oboro, Mike and Namuri say to him, "Stop taking your time, ask her out already." Aizawa thought to himself and said, "I will start talking to her more before I make the final move," which shocked the 3 friends as he will usually ignore it, but they smiled and said, "All right Shota." So everyone, in one of future chapters you will see Aizawa and Miss Joke finally together with many more ships to come, mostly in the final chapter, which is time skip and epilogue. Just for heads up, now back to the story. After the villains who are saved and seeing everyone in a better mood, then something popped up in Momo's mind and she said, "𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗄, hey Aizu." I looked at her as she said, "I haven't introduced you to my parents yet." I can tell that she was nervous and I said to her, "Don't worry Momo, we can meet them tomorrow and tell them about our relationship and adopting Eri because I love you so much and we will do this together, as she smiled and pulled me to a kiss, and 1 minute later she pulled away and said, thank you Aizu, I love you so much, as we both smiled and looked towards Eri, who was having a lot of fun with the class, and I said to myself, I am glad my life has changed to this and I will cherish every moment of it and protect everyone as much as I can, plus, and Momo said to herself, I am glad I am with the person I love and our newly adopted daughter, and I will give them all my love and cherish every moment I have with them, with both saying, and to never ever let this go and having it to get even better as time goes on. After everyone had played and enjoyed their time having Eri around, and after a long day of having fun, they went to their dorms and fell asleep, and now it is the next day, and it is the day Izuku shall meet Momo's parents and slight lemon at the end of this chapter, so now let's begin. Izuku POV. It was the next day. I had woken up only to see a sleeping Momo on top of me like yesterday. I smiled and caressing Momo's hair till she woke up. Momo's POV. I had woken up to see Izuku caressing my hair and I said, good morning Aizu, as he replied, good morning Momo, as we kissed, and I said, let's wash up, wake up Eri and make some breakfast. Izuku smiled and said, okay honey, as we walked to the bathroom. After washing up, Momo and Izuku went to Eri's room, and as they opened the door they see her already playing with some of her toys. They smiled and said, good morning Snowflake/Angel, as she looked towards her parents and said, good morning Mama and Papa, as she put her toys on the ground and went to hug both her parents. Izuku asked, hey Snowflake, have you washed up yet? As she nodded saying, yes Papa, as I smiled, and Momo, who was holding Izuku's arm, saying, hey Angel, how about we go and get some breakfast? As Eri smiled and said, okay, and the lovely family walked to the common room. Since Eri was familiar with everyone in the class, and surprisingly with her innocence, Mineta actually became better and slowly stopped becoming a perv, as he thought he should finally change his ways, which he apologized to the girls and they forgave him, as everyone smiled telling him that they are happy for his change. If you are wondering why Kaminari did change, well, earlier before the overhaul arc he got closer to Kyoka and they became closer and bonded with music, and his previous side just faded. 3. Now back to the couple. As they walked down the stairs they saw the class already in the common room with Bakugo and Kirishima cooking in the kitchen. Everyone greeted the couple as they said the same, and Eri went to play with the class while Momo pulled Izuku to the side to tell him something. Momo's POV. I pulled Aizu to the side as yesterday. Rewind to yesterday night. Momo was calling her parents as her mother said, hello Momo dear, how have you been? She replied, I am alright mother, how are you and dad? Her mother, who was smiling through the phone, saying, we are alright Momo, so why are you calling me at this time? Momo was worried to tell her the truth, but she remembered what Izuku said and told her mother everything from the overhaul incident to being with Izuku and now adopting Eri. This shocked her mother and her father as well, who was also listening in the background. Surprisingly, he smiled hearing all the good things Izuku did and how his daughter found the right man, but being a dad he asked his wife for the phone as she passed it to him and said to Momo, hello Momo, I am happy to hear everything that has happened, but I would still like to meet Izuku and Eri. Suddenly her mother screaming in the background like how Inko did when she first heard the news, I have a grandbaby. This made Momo sigh in relief and giggling hearing how happy her mother was, so she said, could we meet you tomorrow night for dinner at home? Both her parents hearing this said, yes of course. Momo smiled and said, okay. Thank you and good night Mom and Dad, as they said the same, and they ended the call. I was pulled by Momo, who told me everything her and her parents talked about and said, so are you ready to meet them? I smiled and said, of course I will, let's do this together, as we smiled and pulled each other in for a kiss before returning back to the class to see pancakes, egg, bacon, and this time some tea which Momo had left in the common room for the class to share. Izuku then came behind Eri and lifted her up high as the little girl giggled and said, Papa put me down, as everyone laughed and Izuku put her down. Everyone then proceeded to the tables and had their breakfast. After everyone finished eating breakfast and washed their plates, Momo and Izuku went to Eri and said, hey Snowflake/Angel, as she looked towards them and said, yes Mama, yes Papa. As Izuku continued saying, well, tonight we are going to your mama's house to meet her parents. This made Eri's eyes shine brightly and smiled saying in a high tone, I am gonna meet my other grandma and grandpa. The couple smiled and said yes. Eri was excited to meet her other grandparents as Izuku and Momo told the class, and they said, good luck and have fun. This made Kaminari go to Izuku and said, Midoriya, why aren't you scared? I mean especially Yamamo's dad. This made Kaminari shiver, remembering his first meeting with Kyoto Kujiro, her father, as who was giving a fierce aura when they told their parents about their relationship not too long after the fight with Overhaul. Although at the end Kaminari and Kyoka's parents became close, he was still intimidated with his first meeting with her father. Izuku said, "Nope, I am not worried. Momo told me that she told her parents everything and I am already prepared to meet him, especially having Momo at Eri at my side," as he held Momo's hand, patting Eri's head. Kaminari was surprised and smiled, with Kirishima saying in the background with him, "You're so manly, Midoriya," with Kaken saying, "Huh, you manning up, nerd, good job," as I smiled saying, "Thanks, Kaken." As he smiled and walked away, I was looking back only to see Kaminari walking back to his punk rock girlfriend, who zapped him with her earphone jacks, telling him to stop being scared, as he smiled and kissed Jiro on the lips saying, "Okay, Kyo," as this made her blushed and the rest of the class cheering. With Mina hugging her friend saying in a cheeky tone, "I knew my shipping senses weren't wrong when I saw you two together," but this made the couple smile, with the rest of the class saying good job before heading back to their daily routines. Izuku then held Momo's hand and carrying Eri on the other as they walked back to their special dorm room. And in the late afternoon they were getting ready for their meet-up with his girlfriend's parents. This is what Izuku was wearing, but more taller and masculine too. This is what Izuku was wearing, but more taller and masculine. This is what Momo is wearing, and lastly this is what Momo is wearing, and lastly this was what Eri was wearing. For now it was the evening as the family walked through the common room with the class praising about what they were wearing before leaving the dorms, with Momo's parents had called a driver to pick them up and they proceeded to the Yakuza mansion. Momo was leaning on my shoulder with Eri sitting on her lap as she smiled and looked at me saying, "Are you ready?" I smiled and kissed her saying, Yes, I am." We both smiled and looked at Eri, who was excited to see her grandparents. As they arrived to the mansion and as the door opened, Izuku saw a man and a woman both looking very young, and the woman looked a lot like Momo as they greeted saying, "Welcome Momo, and I believe that you are Izuku and Eri." Momo smiled and said, "Yes," as went to her parents and gave them a hug as I said, "Good evening Mr. and Mrs. Yakuza. I am Izuku Midoriya, Momo's classmate and lover," as her mother smiled saying, "No need for formalities, just call me Hana." I smiled to hear her father saying, "Call me Kensher," as I smiled and said, "Okay Hana and Kensher," as her parents looked down to see Eri hugging their legs saying, "Hello Grandpa and Grandma, I am Mama and Papa's daughter," as she smiled brightly. As they arrived to the mansion and as the door opened, Izuku saw a man and a woman both looking very young, and the woman looked a lot like Momo as they greeted saying, "Welcome Momo, and I believe that you are Izuku and Eri." Momo smiled and said, "Ye," as both of them said to themselves, "So bright and innocent," as Hana bent down to hug her granddaughter and squishing her cheeks against hers saying, "My granddaughter is so cute and adorable," as Eri giggled saying, "Grandma, that tickles," as she let go. With Kensher patting her head saying, "Hello Eri," as Eri hugged his leg before going back to Momo. They then said, "Stop standing there, come in." As they walked in, as they walked to the dining table, which was as big as Izuku's apartment, as they sat down and Kensher asked, "Izuku, Momo has told us everything that has happened, but I want to ask, what is your intention with my daughter?" I looked at him and said, "I just want to make Momo happy and have a happy life with her, making her happy while also protecting and supporting her every way I can." He smiled before asking, "What was your first impression of Momo?" Which I smiled saying, "Appealing, confident, hardworking, and amazing leader." Momo blushed and she held his hand before Kensher asking one last question, "What are your goals as a hero?" Izuku smiled saying, "I want to be a hero where everyone can smile, where the quirkless aren't bullied or looked down on for not having a quirk, those with weak quirks to be treated well and supported to let them be stronger, those with villainous quirks to not be abused and neglected cause of their quirk but treated normally like everyone else, add those with mutant quirks to not be looked down on and being said bad things about their quirk, and I would hope to see more women rise to show that women are strong too, and all I just want to be a hero which unites everyone together and always having a smile." This made both Hana and Kensher shocked, especially Kensher, who was actually quirkless and was proud hearing what Izuku said as he smiled and said, "We approve you dating our daughter," as Momo and I smiled saying, "Thank you for your blessing," before Hana said, "Well Izuku, actually Kensher is quirkless." I was shocked hearing that sentence and replied saying, Oh, I thought Momo's quirk was a combination of yours before Hana continued saying, she has a upgraded version of my quirk as I only make small items. I nodded and looked and Kenshiro and amazed at how far he had come to be where he was as Izuku said to Kenshiro saying you must have worked really hard. Kenshiro he smiled as said, yes I have but now I live a great life having a appealing wife and daughter. Everyone smiled as Kenshiro then said, alright enough chit chat let's eat. After dinner Momo's parents asked us to just stay here and return to the dorms tomorrow as Momo said she will make some clothes for me and Eri as we agreed to stay for the night but before that Kenshiro and Hana said to the couple, so when are you guys getting married? This made them blushed but they said, most likely after finishing our studies in you. They smiled and said to them the same thing Inko said to them before leaving the dorms. We don't mind having more grand babies. This made them blush before saying good night as the couple went to check on Eri who was already asleep. They smiled before going into Momo's room. They looked and realized the room was soundproof. This made them blush before they looked at each other saying, so do you want to do it? Izuku said, only if you are. She smiled as she locked the door and pulling him into a deep kiss which became a make-out session. Some lemon warning they were making out then taking each other's clothes as Izuku fondling Momo's chest but then started to fingering her then 𝗬𝗶𝗍𝗏 to his mouth and as he used his tongue as she said 𝐎𝐻𝐁𝐵. A while later she climaxed into his mouth as she switched over pulling down his pants only to be hit by his 11-inch long rod. This made her shocked seeing how big it is but she started sucking it. Izuku was enjoying it and said Momo. A while after he released a huge load into her mouth but she managed to swallow it and was surprised that it tasted sweet. Plus Izuku then got up and asked her, you ready? As she nodded and said, go slowly, as he slowly inserted his rod in as a little blood drip and he asked, are you okay Momo? She nodded and said seductively, yes now ride me. As he smiled and they did it for hours in many positions before both who climaxed a few times before falling asleep. Izuku's POV I had woken up looking around to see a Momo on top of me and I realized we were both naked as I blushed and remembered that we did it last night. I gave her a kiss on her head as I caressed her hair. Momo's POV I had woken up to Izuku caressing my hair as he noticed and said, good morning honey, as I smiled replying, good morning dear, as I continued, looks like we had a very eventful night. He smiled and said, yes we did. We giggled before going to wash up but I couldn't walk so Aiza had to carry me to the bathroom. After the couple had washed up they went to Eri's room to see if she is awake but they realized she wasn't in the room so they thought that she would be with her parents. So they walked to the living room with Izuku carrying Momo to see Kenshiro and Hana playing Eri. The couple noticed Izuku carrying Momo. They smiled and said, good morning Momo and Izuku, it seems like you guys had an eventful night. The couple blushed before saying, good morning mom/dad/Hana/Kenshiro and yeah we did, as the parents chuckled and Eri ran to her parents hugging Izuku's legs saying, good morning papa, good morning mama. The couple smiled and ate good morning snowflake/angel. She smiled before going back to the toys that she was playing with. Hana then asked the couple, so will we have another grandchild? She said jokingly. The couple giggled before Momo suddenly said, Aizu, I don't feel too good, can we go to the bathroom? As I nodded and carried Momo to the bathroom while Hana and Kenshiro already know what happened. They smiled saying to each other, another grandbaby. They then walked back to play with Eri. Izuku brought Momo to the bathroom as she went and puked in the toilet and after that she looked at Aizu asking him one question. Hey Aizu, he looked at her as she said, what would you do if I were 𝗵𝗃𝗲? He was shocked hearing that but smiled saying, I will take care of you, Eri and the baby and I will never leave you guys behind. Momo smiled as she kissed Izuku before taking out something from her pocket which her mother slipped in before they walked to the bathroom. Izuku looked to see a 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗍 test and he looked and Momo asking Momo, are you 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗍? She smiled and said, I think I am but we will have to see what the test says. He nodded as he waited outside while Momo did the test. A few minutes later he heard a knock on the door to see Momo crying tears of joy and showing Izuku the test. It had 2 lines indicating that Momo was 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗍. He was so happy that he lifted her up while and said, we are going to have baby, as he cried tears of joy with Momo saying, yes we are Aizu, as they looked at each other and gave a passionate kiss. After that they told Hana and Kenshiro the news which made them very happy and Momo went to Eri and asked, hey Angel? As Eri looked at her mother as she said, would you like to be a big sister? Eri looked at her mother asking, yes I want to be a big sister with many little brothers and sisters. This made everyone smile as Izuku then said, well Eri, you are going to be a big sister. This made the little girl so happy as she did her signature bright smile after that they told Hana and Kenshiro the news, which made them very happy, and Momo went to Eri and asked, "Hey Angel," as Eri looked at her mother as she said, "Would you like to be a big sister?" Eri looked at her mother asking, "Yes, I want to be a big 𝗧𝗵𝗲. When am I going to have my baby brother or sister?" The couple looked at her and said, 9 months, as Eri nodded, being very excited. Izuku then called Inko, who actually knew Hana and Kenshiro as they were friends in middle school and high school before they carried on their lives after, and when he told her that Momo was 𝗵𝗃, she said, 𝗵𝗃𝗁, I just had one baby, now I had another. Izuku, are you sure you are ready? He smiled through the phone saying, "Yes mom, I am." Inko smiled through the phone saying, "Okay then my baby boy, I'm happy for you, and also could you tell Hana and Kenshiro I said hello?" He agreed as he ended the call and proceed to tell the Yaoyorozus about his call with Inko, which made Kenshiro and Hana happy hearing from their old friend again. After a while the couple and Eri went back to UA with a driver sending them back. As they arrived to UA, the couple thought how the class and teachers would react to the sudden news, but they smiled holding each other's hand, with Eri sitting on Izuku's shoulder as she wanted to feel tall, which Izuku lifted her up and sat her down on his shoulders. Surprisingly, during this new bond that Izuku and Momo shared, their quirks somehow evolved since the defeat of All for One at the Kamino Ward, which All Might didn't defeat him alone but with the help of Izuku, as Izuku trained harder than he did in canon and has mastered One for All to 100%, but he didn't unlock the past user's quirks till after the fight, which All Might still had embers of One for All, and Izuku the past users led him with One for All and their quirks, and One for All has become Izuku's quirk, meaning his child can possess One for All with a benefit that the drawbacks won't be very severe. Also with the quirk evolution, he grew to 190 centimeters. Momo on the other hand, that was the crazy part, he quirk evolved to quirk creation. As the name goes, she can create quirk, and since her quirk evolved, the previous drawback she had that requires the use of the lipids in her body to not exist anymore, so now she can create quirks are she pleased. She also grew to 178 centimeters and may grow another centimeter or 2 within the year and stop growing taller. I know I am making them up, but I wanted to make it interesting, so now for the quirks Momo made for her, Izuku, Eri, which she will unlock when she masters her original quirk, Class 1, and their families. She also gave it to Cammy cause she is with Shoto and some family members just wanted slow aging quirk instead of immortality, so she did and gave them ultra regeneration but will not affect their slow aging when they die. Mei. Aizawa's Joke will have the quirks after Aizawa confesses to her, All Might. Inko, Hana, Kenshiro, Midnight, Oboro, Mike, Shinso transferred to 1B shortly after the raid, and quirk became Control, which someone will be brainwashed and tells him only the truth and control them physically as those people act normally while his mind receives the information, and is dating Reiko in 1B. The ex-rehab and good 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 asked to be rewinded to be older as she wanted to be with Tsuyu, and she became 23 while Tsuyu is still 24. Nijire and Tamaki, who are together was, and also Tamaki had gotten over his social anxiety thanks to the help of Mirio and especially Nijire, but he is still shy to others who he doesn't talk to, and Mirio had gotten his quirk back, who is also dating Itsuka Kendo. I know this ship, it's like non-existent from what I have seen, but I just feel that both of their personalities really make each other, so I have them together as both classes became close together as Monoma changed and became more calm as those two class went to hang out more often and everyone became good friends. Surprisingly, Monoma and Bakugo apologized to one another and now are friend, and other heroes like Maruko and Hawks cause they together. Same thing for Ryukyu and Deadshot, also Empty Lady and Kamui Woods, even Gran Torino and Recovery Girl, who returned to being 26. Gran Torino asked Recovery Girl out, she agreed, and maybe more heroes in the future also received the quirks. Side note, Principal Nizu chose to not have any of the quirks as he wanted to live a normal lifespan, and they accepted his decision. Won the quirks given to everyone who I mentioned for the most part. Immortality, which gives them enhanced strength, speed. People stop aging at 26, and those who are older than 26 returned back to their 26-year-old self, and physical prime and super regeneration, which heals and regenerates one even with just a single cell remaining. MSTR of hand-to-hand combat and weaponry, enhanced reflexes, location, which if one knows a certain location they are able to teleport to it, but Koda and Eri will only unlock them after mastering their quirks as it evolved, as Eri's quirk became semi-time manipulation while Koda's evolved to water and earth manipulation. And yep, these quirks won't be at use anytime soon, but I just wanted to point it out cause I wanted to make this story hella interesting. And remember I said Izuku's quirk evolved, so his quirk also gave him, and so hello JJK fans out there, he had the abilities Limitless and 6 eyes with a twist, so Izuku's hair color became a lighter green, sadly no more broccoli, and his eyes were like Gojo's but green, and he can turn it on, and of meaning, he doesn't need to wear a 𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗃 and had been giving knowledge on how to use it, which Momo create a mindscape quirk which allowed him to train his quirk in his mind, which will show the same effects in the real world, and so he trained in the mindscape for a few years, which was a few hours in the real world, and he mastered the quirk. His personality is still the same kind, confident and caring, but when sparring with friends he acts like Gojo. Sorry for taking so much time for you guys reading this, but let's continue. As they opened the doors, they saw the teachers and Principal Nizu talking with Class 1A, Big 3 and Itsuka, All Might and Cammy, as everyone looked to see the couple and their daughter welcoming them back. Momo then said, "Everyone Aizu and would like to tell you something." They were curious to know what they wanted to say till Momo shouted, 𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗄𝐵𝐶. Everyone blinked for a second before saying, 𝗕𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗄𝐵𝐶. Then All Might said, "Wow, young midoriya, I am surprised that this would happen so quick." As everyone nodded before the teachers asked, "Midoriya and Yaoyorozu, are you guys sure that you guys will be able to cope with school, relationship, Eri, and now a baby?" The couple smiled and said yes, as everyone smiled and was happy for them, with Mina saying, "Momo, since your quirk can create quirks, do you think you can check how many babies you have and their genders?" This made Momo smile as she did on their ride back to UA. This made Izuku and Eri look in her as she said, "We will be expecting twins, a boy and a girl," as Izuku was shocked but saying, "We are having twins," as he put Eri down and lifted Momo up high and in joy before putting her down, with Eri saying, "Why, I'll have a little brother and sister." As she smiled brightly, everyone then started cheering for them. The teachers congratulated them, with Midnight saying to Momo, "Looks like you were ahead of me," she said jokingly, as Oboro blushed and Momo giggled saying, "Looks like I am," as everyone laughed. As Principal Nizu came to Izuku and said, "So, young Midoriya, have you thought about having a job?" Izuku nodded as Nizu walked to him and passed him something which shocked everyone besides the teachers, who smiled as it was a Pro Hero's license saying Pro Hero, Deku. Izuku looked back at Principal Nizu saying, "Are you sure, Principal Nizu?" He nodded, as this was actually a recommendation from the teachers and the Hero Commission, who had changed leaders since that request you made. Flashback: Izuku had requested All Might to request Lady Nagantwich. He found out her story about her being asked to assassinate people by the Hero Commission, which she left and was listed as a villain and Stain to be out of Tartarus but working for the Hero Commission. But surprising after that, the two of them became the new heads of the Hero Commission, who have been a great help to society, and thanked Izuku for his help and understanding, which he smiled, and the Hero Society became better, with the League, who went to rehab, had requested with their help to build rehab centers for villains that were forced to become one by society. As Lady Nagant and Stain said to Izuku before leaving, "Continue to be the hero you are right now, Deku. You have really made a great difference," as he smiled and said, "Thank you." End of flashback. Izuku smiled and then said, "I will do my best," as everyone smiled, knowing he will do his best. As Principal Nizu, the teachers, Lady Nagant and Stain, who stepped out of the shadows and said, "Welcome, Hero Deku," as everyone smiled and cheered, with Momo giving Izuku many kissing and Eri jumping around. Hearing the news, they invited Inko, Hana and Kenshiro, which were told about Izuku being a newly appointed pro hero and about the twins, as the two mothers shouted, "Two grandbabies," as everyone laughed at their excitement as the parents hugged their children and granddaughter, and after that they had a surprise party. Plus, Izuku and Momo went to the garden outside their dorms, looking at the stars before turning their heads to look at each other and said, "Thank you for everything, I love you so much, Momo/Aizu," as they kissed each other before saying to themselves, "This life I have now, I am happy that everything changed, and this is just the beginning, and I hope to make such amazing and wonderful memories." It has been a few days after the big celebration of Momo having twins and Izuku becoming a pro hero, so now let's begin. It was in the afternoon when Izuku Midoriya received a call from Mr. Aizawa saying the wild pussycats will be visiting with Kota in the late afternoon, as he said alright before telling the class that they will expecting guest, and Momo surprisingly already knew about it, as she ran into Mandalay, also known as Shino Sosaki, while walking to the store to get some things while Izuku was doing his new job as a pro hero. Momo and Mandalay they had a long conversation before giving each other their numbers to have a play date between Koda and Eri. They had a feeling the two of them would get along, especially when talking about their fave hero Deku. After telling the class about the guest, the class proceeded to clean the dorms to make it neat and tidy, with Momo saying to Izuku, "Hey Aizu, actually I know who the guests are." They made Izuku shocked and ask, "How do you know Momo?" As Momo proceeded to tell him about her running into Mandalay to switching their phone numbers to arrange a play date between Eri and Koda. This made Izuku chuckle, knowing they would get along since both of them are the same age. It was 5:00 p.m. as they saw Mr. Aizawa walking in with the guest, who were the 𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏 and Koda, which the class then welcomed them, and Koda, who wasn't shy but instead as he saw Izuku he ran to him and hugged his leg saying, "Hello Deku, it has been a while." As Izuku smiled saying, "It has been a while, how are you?" As Mandalay went and said, "Ever since you saved him from Muscular, he was very grateful for what you did, and look." As she pointed out Koda's shoe, which were red and looked similar to Izuku's old red shoes. This made Koda blush from embarrassment as he then noticed a girl with white hair, red eyes and a small horn holding Momo's hand as he asked Izuku, "Mr. Deku, who is she?" As he pointed to Eri as he said, "It is my daughter Eri. I saved her from a villain named Overhaul and I adopted her, and the woman you see holding her hand, it is my girlfriend Momo, and please call me Izuku." He smiled and Koda nodded as he walked to Eri and Momo saying, "Hello Momo," as she said, "Hello Koda," as she smiled before. Continuing as he said, "Hello Eri, I am Koda. I was saved by your papa too. I hope we can be friends." As Eri, she didn't had friend the same age as her, so she was very happy as she hugged Koda saying, "Of course let us be friends," as Koda blushed from embarrassment but hugged her back. This made Momo and Mandalay look at each other and said, "They are definitely getting together in the future," as everyone heard and smiled. Looking at the wholesome sight, Mr. Aizawa surprisingly smiled before saying, "Well, the 𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏 will be staying here for a while as their headquarters are getting an upgrade." As everyone nodded, and Ragdoll, who lost her quirk during the training camp, got her quirk back after Momo made an exact copy of her old quirk, as she thanked her, as Momo also gave the 𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏, and Koda will also unlock it after mastering his quirk, the quirks that I had said in the previous chapter. Everyone later had dinner, which was made by the boys in the class, and yes, Mineta helped too, as he grew to 5 feet 5 inches ever since he changed for the better after dinner. Koda and Eri then went to play at Eri's room, who had lots of toys and mainly them talking about their favorite hero Deku, while the 𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏s were talking with the rest of the class, with Mandalay talking to Momo, as Momo then told her, "Well, Shino actually 𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏 with twins." This made her shocked and said, "Really, how far along are you?" As Momo chuckled and said, "About 2 weeks." This made Shino happy for her friend. She didn't ask how she found out so early, as she knew Momo probably made a quirk to do so, as they then proceeded to tell the rest of the 𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏s, who congratulated them. Everyone was wondering where Izuku went, so they went to the family's dorm room only to see Izuku playing with Koda and Eri. This made everyone smile, seeing such a wholesome sight. Koda and Eri had an amazing day during the time they played together. Eri even pointed out the horn on Koda's hat and the one on her head. This made him blush, but when he touched her horn, Eri felt a warm feeling. Well, she thought maybe it is something similar to what her mama and papa felt, but will wait till when she is older to see if she was right, since Momo and Izuku said no dating too young. Maybe when she is 15 or 16 they would be alright, but either way she is glad to have made a friend who also admired her papa for saving them. And Koda even said to Eri, as Eri told Koda her quirk and asked if it was a curse, although she got past it, she wanted to see if he really cared, and Koda said, "No, it isn't you, your quirk can help people and save them, it is not a curse." As Eri hugged Koda saying, "Thank you," crying tears of joy, and everyone was shocked hearing something so mature from Koda, but smiled and teared up hearing that he told Eri her quirk wasn't a curse. A while after everyone went to bed, the 𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏 stayed in the extra rooms that were in Momo and Izuku's dorm, with Koda sharing with Eri, since both of them fell asleep with Eri on top of Koda. This made Momo and Mandalay mumble to each other about whether Eri and Koda will get together, but everyone said they probably will. They smiled before proceeding back to their dorms. Koda, who before he fell asleep, he felt the same warm feeling Eri had and was told the same thing by Mandalay that Momo and Izuku said to Eri. He just said to himself, "I will protect you, Eri. I won't let other treat you badly, and say your quirk is a curse. I hope to see you smile more and we continue to be friends and maybe something more in the future," as he smiled before falling asleep to sleep. Eri, who woke up for a short while looking at a sleeping Koda, as she thought to herself, Koda was my first friend and someone who had a similar experience from suffering from a villain to being saved by Deku, but most of all he also told that my quirk wasn't a curse. I am happy to have him as my first friend. I hope to make more, but I hope to have a stronger and closer bond with you in the future, as she smiled before falling asleep again. Yes, guess Eri and Koda will be together in the time skip chapter. This is just a spoiler or a hint, I don't know, but yeah, you will see Eri and Koda together too. Also, if you guys would like to see ships like 𝗵𝗃𝗁, or even a small backstory of 𝗳𝗵𝗍 and 𝗳𝗏𝗵𝗵, or even 𝗵𝐭 with All Might Shoto's secret love child claim will go crazy, or even eraser jokes, so please say it in the comments and I will try my best. It has been 9 months since the 𝗷𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗀 cats had made their visit to UA with Koda and Eri enjoying their time together, so now Momo is going to give BR. Also, if you guys are wondering why Momo can't make a birthing quirk, she wanted to go through a normal birthing cycle, and if she and Izuku are to have more kids in the future, she can create a birthing quirk, which basically means when she reaches all 9 months her belly will shine a shine and the baby or babies will appear on her hands. Kinda cool, right? The rest of the girls asked for that quirk in the future, which Momo agreed. During this 9 months, Koda and Eri have been hanging out a lot, playing with each other at playgrounds, UA, and even the 𝗷𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗀 headquarters. Koda also then saw Momo and Izuku as big brother and sister figures with the rest of Class 1A, 1B and the Big Three. He also made a promise to Izuku and Momo that he will protect Eri, which everyone smiled. The meeting with 9 at Nabu Island had passed too, as 9 and his gang were defeated way quicker in canon but were sent to rehab, as Izuku offered them a chance to fix the broken part of society with him and the Hero Commission, which they agreed, and 9 returned the quirks he took while 𝗬𝗪 healed him from his previous drawbacks of 9 having 9 quirks, and Momo gave him an exact copy of the quirks he took without the previous drawbacks. 𝗬𝗪 and Mahoro also said to Izuku that they will see him at UA, but also requested him as the class to visit as well, which the smiled and agreed. 9 and his gang decided to work in the shadows with Toga to find out hidden information, not just in Japan but around the world as well. Okay, too much writing and not story, whoops, so now let's begin. 9 months passed as Momo Yaoyorozu had been sent to the hospital ever since her water broke, which everyone, the teachers, 𝗷𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗀, Class 1A and 1B, Big Three, Eri, All Might, 𝗵𝐭, Hana and Kenshiro followed with Izuku, who actually used full cowling 100% to arrive at the hospital first. Now we have everyone waiting outside with Izuku and Eri giving Momo motivation to push, as Momo was pushing her hardest, as the doctor said, one more push, as Izuku and Eri said, you can do it Momo/mama, as Eri was jumping around and Izuku holding her hand, which made Momo go, +, as she shouted, as their son was in the doctor's arms saying congratulations, it's a boy, as they heard some crying from the baby, 𝗬𝗬𝗬, as the another doctor cut the umbilical cord, but suddenly Momo shouted, 𝗬, as the doctor realized she had another child, which the couple forgot to tell the doctor, which the doctor said, another one, as he requested the nurses to get more items for the second child, as Momo pushed her hardest, giving a scream saying, +, as a girl has appeared in the doctor's arms crying too, 𝗬𝗬𝗬, as the doctor said, congratulations 𝗵𝗲, you have twins, a boy and a girl, which the doctor then cut the umbilical cord, as the couple and Eri smiled as the doctor wrapped the babies in a clothes before passing them to Momo, which calmed down when they were in her arms, with Momo passing the boy to Izuku, as the couple both kissed the baby's forehead smiling. Now we have everyone waiting outside with Izuku and Eri giving Momo motivation to push, as Momo was pushing her hardest, as the doctor said, one more push, as Izuku and Eri said, you can do it Momo/mama, as Eri was jumping around and Izuku their son, but imagine with dark green and slightly straighter hair, their daughter with dark green hair and similar to her brother, and freckles like her brother, their daughter with dark green hair and similar to her brother and freckles like her brother. Momo and Izuku then smiled as Izuku asked, hey honey, you did it, but now what would you like to name the kids, as Momo smiled, kissing Izuku before saying, how about you name the boy and I name the girl, as Izuku said, alright, as he looked at his soon as he said, Toshinori, which Momo smiled knowing that it is his mentor All Might. Momo then looked at their daughter and said Hanako, which Momo combined both 𝗵𝐭 and Hana's names together, which the couple smiled seeing their newborn babies with. Eri, who climbed up the bed to see her baby siblings as she smiled, saying, "Hello Toshi, hello Hanako, I am Eri, your big sister." This made the couple smiled before the doctor invited the rest of the class. Teachers, Big Three, parents, 𝗷𝗫𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗁 and Koda came in. They all looked at the babies, but Izuku motioned his hand for them to keep their voices down as everyone congratulated them, as the teachers and student had to leave earlier as there is school tomorrow. But the parents, All Might and 𝗷𝗫𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗁 and Koda, who Eri jumped on hugging him as he hugged back. The parents looked and said, "They are so adorable, what are their names?" As Izuku said, "The boy is Toshinori," which All Might is shocked, saying, "Why young Midoriya?" As Izuku said, "I named him since you were the one who gave me a chance to be a hero and mentor and is also my father figure." This made All Might smile, saying, "Thank you young Midoriya," which Inko then said, "Since that is the case, well, Izukami and Toshi are dating." As Izuku smiled, saying, "I had a feeling, but you guys have my support." As the new couple smiled before Hana asked, "What about you Momo, what is the girl's name?" As Momo smiled, saying, "Hanako after you, and Inko and Dad, don't worry, our future children will definitely have a combination of your name too." As Kenshiro smiled while Inko and Hana teared up, saying, "Aw thank you Momo," as she smiled. The 𝗷𝗫𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗁 came to say hello to the babies before going as they have hero work, and they asked if Koda could stay with Momo and Izuku, which Eri sorta begged for parents' permission, but they agreed and the 𝗷𝗫𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗁 left for their hero work. The parents stayed for a while longer before leaving, with Izuku requesting All Might to take the sleeping Koda and Eri back to UA, as All Might agreed and left. Now left with the couple and their newborn twins, as Izuku said, "Thank you Momo so much, I am so happy to see our newborns, I love you so much," as he gave her a passionate kiss as she pulled back, saying, "Thank you to you too Aizu, I love you so much," as they shared another passionate kiss before falling asleep. The next day Izuku had received some calls from the Todoroki family, Gran Torino and Recovery Girl, Toga, Twice, Tenko, Magna, Mr. Compress, Spinner, Lady Nagant and Stain, congratulating them for their newborn children as the couple thanked them as they returned back to their work. A week has passed and the couple brought their newborns back to UA. The class were at lessons while Koda and Eri were playing together, as Momo was BRST feeding the babies, who then fell asleep after being fed, as Momo laid them down on her bed as she fell asleep as well. Izuku was helping to build the cribs for the twins while All Might and Kenshiro were following a very excited Inko and Hana to get many baby supplies, as the two looked and shivered, saying, "God bless our wallet," as they chuckled and left. Shoto x Kami. It was after the provisional license exam when Shoto Todoroki came across Kami Utsushimi, who he teamed up with during the exam, and she was a very kind and friendly girl, which for the first time he felt a warm feeling. But after the exam she asked for his number, which they then shared their numbers and started hanging out ever since. In a short time Shoto told Kami about his past, which she hugged him and said she will still be his friend no matter what. This made him blush for the first time, but felt something his mother told him when he told her about what he felt for Kami, which his mother said, "Love." Which Shoto decided to tell Kami how he felt, which he didn't know she liked him too, even though he was quiet and shy, but over time he became more talkative and even smiled more, which Kami liked. One day Shoto said to Kami when they were at Kami's home as he went there to visit, as he said, "Kami, I would like to tell you something." This made Kami blush and was shocked, thinking if he was confessed to her, which he continued saying, "Thank you for making me happier, for being so kind and supportive and making me feel something I never felt before from anyone other than my mother when I was a child, love." As she heard it she smiled, as Shoto then said, "I love you Kami, would you like to be my girlfriend?" She hugged him tightly, saying, "Yes, I love you too, of course." As Shoto smiled brightly for the first time. One day Shoto said to Kami when they were at Kami's home as he went there to visit, as he said, "Kami, I would like to tell you something." This made Kami blush and was shocked, thinking if he was confessed to her, which he continued saying, "Thank you one," as they looked at each other and shared a passionate kiss. Shoto told the class and his family, which everyone was shocked but happy for him, and ever since he got together with Kami she helped to fix to the Todoroki family back together. As Ray returned home Endeavor became very nice and everyone had a great time. Ray and Endeavor asked the kids a question. "Hey kids, me and Enji were wondering if you guys would like to have another sibling, but let this sibling live a happy life with us," as everyone smiled, saying yes. Ever since then Shoto became a very happy person. Kaminari x 𝗬𝗪 2 Denki Kaminari the Pikachu or Class 1A or what 𝗬𝗪 may call him 𝗕𝗵𝗿 for whenever he uses his quirk too much he goes into his dumb, yay mode which always seemed to make 𝗬𝗪 laugh. The two of them eventually became closer as Kaminari sought 𝗬𝗪 for some help with homework and even for some music which 𝗬𝗪 was shocked but kindly accepted. Over time she helped Kaminari to stop his perverted side which he sometimes showed when he was with the perverted Mineta before he changed. The two of them really liked each other as Kaminari cheered 𝗬𝗪 up when she was thinking of music and being a hero and was worried of what he parents would say which he felt bad for the person who has helped him and his feelings for having such negative thoughts so much which he then told her, you can be both a hero and a musician as music also can save other people's lives and to me you already are my hero, which he purposely acted in his yay mode which made her laugh while blushing as she finally admitted to herself that she liked him. After the sport festival performance Kaminari decided to take the chance to tell 𝗬𝗪 how he felt which he pulled her to a side which was quiet and she said, hey why did you pull me here, as Kaminari then said, 𝗬𝗪𝗁. This made her blush before continuing, thank you for being so help and caring for me and hearing you perform you teaching me the guitar I just felt so happy and I just wanted to say 𝗬𝗪𝗁 𝗬𝗪 I love you. She was shocked and blushed bright red before saying, really you love me although I am not as physically attractive like the other girls as he said, I love you no matter what and to me you are more appealing and better looking than them, as she was so happy and said, I love you too 𝗑𝗁𝗏, as they kissed before returning to the class and telling them about their relationship. 𝗬𝗪𝗁 decided to bring Denki to visit her parents which her father then gave Denki a scary look and asking, why do you love my daughter? Denki was nervous before looking at 𝗬𝗪𝗁 one time before saying, I love her for who she is and caring, supportive she helped me in so many ways she even taught me music I love her for her I don't care if she is a punk rock girl or not looking like other girls I do not care what you say I love 𝗬𝗪𝗁, as 𝗬𝗪𝗁 blushed and was slightly tearing up with her mother happy to hear what he said as her father said, I see I am glad 𝗬𝗪𝗁 found someone like you please take care of her for me, as Denki aid, yes sir, 𝗬𝗁𝗁𝗏, call me that and all me Mika, her mother said at the back as Denki said 𝗬𝗁𝗁𝗏 and Mika. As her parents smiled as 𝗬𝗪𝗁 ran to him kissing him while crying saying, thank you I love you so much, as Denki said back to her, I love you too 𝗬𝗪𝗁, as the two became very happy ever since. Ida x May it was ever since the sports festival when the class rep of Class 1A Tenya Ida who went to the support course to request for some upgrades to his suit which he then entered only to see Mei 𝗵𝗄𝗻 the pink-haired girl who calls her inventions babies, because of how much she loves making them. This made Ida felt a warm feeling as he liked how dedicated Mei was in making her inventions so he just looked at her till she noticed saying, hello you are Tenya. Ida was shocked as Mei is not really the type to remember someone's name that quickly but she did for Ida. Then Ida said, 𝗕𝗄𝗻 yes I am Tenya Ida, with demonic hand chops, 𝗬𝗍 then asked, are you here for suit upgrades as Ida nodded as he told Mei what he wanted but Mei actually caught interest in him during the sports festival as she also felt a warm feeling when she saw him so she had a request which was, can you be my tester? Which Ida kindly accepted. Ever since that day the two of them became close and developed feelings for each other. She even helped Ida get rid of his demonic hand chops for the most part and with upgrade to his suit which Mei also told him to be more relaxed and flexible and so Ida did. As her test subject they both tested on her inventions with some leading to explosions and laughs but since Momo and Izuku their good friends told the class about Eri. Ida manned up and walked to Mei saying, hey Mei can I talk to you, as she nodded and they reached the rooftop of UA as Ida said, Mei the reason why I called you here is that seeing how Midoriya and Yaoyorozu were confident enough to tell the class about their relationship and adopting Eri, I want to tell you something too. This made her blush and think, is he gonna confess his love for me, as Ida continues saying, Mei 𝗵𝗄𝗻 I love you would you like to be my girlfriend, as Mei is full of joy and hugged Ida saying, yes I love you too and I would love to be your girlfriend, as they then looked each other and had a passionate kiss. They told the class about it and they congratulated them and the boys were surprised that Ida would be the one to tell her but seeing how much he changed ever since he was with Mei they kinda understood. Bakugo x Ochako this story started of earlier than you would think well mainly Ochako caught interest in Bakugo as she wanted to help with his anger issues but was too afraid to help but she just talked to him but he seemed kind. in a way which Bakugo took notice and secretly liked how she wanted to help him, but his anger got the best of him till after the fight with Izuku, which he started to change, and Ochako took it as an opportunity to be closer to him, which over time she helped him get rid his anger for the most of it, and even stop calling his mother Mitsuki old hag and his father Masaru old man to mom and dad, and even apologized for being so rude for all these years. This made the parents very happy, and they had a warm hug. Bakugo thanked Ochako for everything she did and finally had the courage to tell her the provisional license exam his feelings and said, "Uraraka, can I talk to you?" As she nodded, and they went to somewhere quiet where Bakugo then said, looking at Ochako, saying, "Ochako." This made her shocked hearing him say her first name and blushed, thinking, is he gonna say it? As he continued, "Thank you for everything from helping with my anger to my friendship with Izuku and especially helping my parents and I to be a happy family again, and I just want to say, Ochako Uraraka, would you like to be my girlfriend?" As she was shocked but yet so happy as she jumped on him, hugging him, and said, "Yes, I love you too, I will love to be your girlfriend," as they both smiled and had a passionate kiss before going back and telling the class who congratulated them. Kirishima x Mina. Well, this story began ever since Mina and Kirishima were in middle school. The two of them weren't that close, but they knew each other, and Mina actually wanted to know about Kirishima more, but he was sorta awkward at first talking to her, but Kirishima admired how happy and cheerful Mina was, and when they both were in class 1A, the both of them start talking a lot and developed feelings for each other, even to the point where the Baku squad noticed it and actually dragged Mina and Kirishima to a room and locked them in there. Which they talked, and Kirishima, who heard about Bakugo confessing, he decided to man up, asking Mina, "Hey Ishido," as she looked at him as he continued, "Do you like anyone?" This made her blush a bit nervous as she was scared that he would reject her, but said, "Yes," as Kirishima blushed, hoping it was him, as suddenly Mina just kissed him, which the both got really into it, and 2 minutes later they pulled away panting as Mina said, "I don't just like someone, I love him, and it is you, Kirishima," as he was shocked but so happy as he said, "After seeing Bakubro confess to Uraraka, I just wanted to stop waiting and asked you who you like, but now I just want to say I love you too, Mina Ishido," as they smiled and kissed again as they noticed the door open to see Class 1A standing outside saying, "Congratulations," as they smiled but blushed from embarrassment, but were happy that the person they love feels the same too. Ojiro x Toru short part, but hopefully you will like it. Toru and Ojiro talked a lot in class, and Toru secretly liked him, especially cause he did not care if she was invisible. PS Momo's quirk hadn't evolved at the time to try to edit her quirk, but Toru actually could deactivate her quirk. The girls and some of the guys knew, but she told them not to tell Ojiro as she liked him and didn't want to be visible yet as he went to training, as Toru followed him, but little did she know that Ojiro was talking to himself while training, saying, "How am I gonna tell Toru I love her? I am more worried she would think that I would play her feelings, but I won't," as Toru blushed, and she tapped him on the back as Ojiro looked back to see Toru as she was wearing clothes, as he was shocked, but suddenly Toru said, "I love you too, Ojiro," as he said to her, Really, I guess you heard what I said, but I love you even if you are invisible," as Toru deactivated her quirk, as Ojiro looked in shock but said, "You're so appealing," as Toru blushed, and they had a passionate kiss. Eventually the class found and congratulated their friends. Tsuyu x Tokoyami. Sorry for not putting this when I first published the chapter 1. Tsuyu Azui, a happy and calm girl who fell in love with the boy who loves darkness 𝗵𝗃𝗫 Tokoyami, which he fell in love with her too. This all happened after the training camp when Tsuyu was cheering Tokoyami up after he felt weak for Bakugo's capture, which it helped, and the two became closer ever since, and they went out a lot but were too shy to tell their feelings. Dark Shadow even confronted his host, saying, "Fumi, just tell her you love her, you can't keep hiding those feelings anymore, it is so obvious she likes you. When you ask her out she blushes all the time," and she was stuttering, which is something she doesn't normally do, as Tokoyami signed, knowing that Dark Shadow was right, but he said, "Alright, I will try, and I think it is about time I should show everyone my face without this mask, but I will show her first," as Dark Shadow smiled, saying, "Okay Fumi," as he went back to his host as Tokoyami walked to Tsuyu's dorm and knocked, which she opened and smiled, saying, "Hey Tokoyami, why are you here?" "Well, I'm here to ask if you wanted to GG go on a date," he replied, as she thought while blushing, "Is he gonna tell me his feelings?" Flashback to Tsuyu talking to the girls as they told her, "Come on, he likes you, ask him out or something," as she said, "I don't know, maybe he is just repaying me for helping him," as Mina and Momo said, "Come on, he blushes all the time around you and you are the only girl he talks to, as she blushed and said, alright I may think about it, and a flashback as Tsuyu agreed saying of course I would love to, as he smiled saying, how about tonight? As she said, sure, as it was the night and the two then looked at each other and said, wow you look amazing, as both blushed and went on their date. At the end of their date they were at a pond as Tokoyami said, Tsuyu I need to show you something, as she looked to see Tokoyami removing his mask to show his face as Tsuyu blushed as she thought, wow, as she then said, wow I didn't know you were hiding your real face but you look handsome with or without the mask, as he smiled saying, thank you and Tsuyu I wanted to tell you something, which she thought, W1 as Tsuyu blushed as she thought, wow. As she then said, wow I didn't know you were hiding your real face but you look handsome with or without the mask, as he smiled saying, thank you and Tsuyu I wanted to tell you something, which she thought, wait is he gonna, as he said, Tsuyu have helped me a lot always trying to cheer me up and even understood my thing for darkness as I just wanted to say I love you and will you be my girlfriend, as she smiled and said out of joy hugging him and said, yes I will be your girlfriend, Karo, as they both smiled and had a passionate kiss. At the end of the date the two announced their relationship which everyone cheered and supported them while Tokoyami showing them his real face which shocked everyone but they said he looked great as everyone smiled and had a great day after while the two just became happier ever since. Shinso x Reiko 9 sorry if it is short Shinso Hitoshi had just joined class 1B as he caught interest in someone as he looked to see Reiko Yanagi as Reiko also surprisingly caught interest too and to him she was cute and actually the first girl to have a long conversation with as after school while walking to the 1B dorms Reiko walked up to him saying, hello I am Reiko Yanagi, Shinso was shocked but replied, hi I'm Shinso Hitoshi, as the two talked about what they liked and their quirks as both were looked to have villainous or scary quirks and personalities but both were helped by someone for Reiko it was Itsuka and Shinso it was Izuku. Over time the two got closer started hanging out as they felt a warmth they never felt before and Shinso actually asked her on a date which he sought advice from Izuku which helped. As Shinso asked her when they were at a rooftop looking at the night sky as he said, Reiko you were the first girl to understand me you were so kind and open and I just wanted to say I love you and, as she blushed, will you be my girlfriend, as she said, of course I will you were the first person to truly ever understand me and I love you too. As the two kissed as a shooting star appeared too and ever since then the two showed more joy and emotion around their friends and especially among each other as they have finally met someone who truly understands how they feel. Nijire x 𝗵𝗲 wasn't a very social person but was only friends with Mirio in UA till they met Nijire Hado who Tamaki felt a warm feeling and wasn't shy to talk to her this ade Mirio shocked and had secretly shipped them. Over their 3-year in UA and being close to one another with the help of Nijire Tamaki's social anxiety slowly faded away he was just shy but not scared to talk to people or see a large group of people. Tamaki started to develop feelings for Nijire for how much she helped him and cared for him but he didn't know that she liked him too and wanted to tell him her feeling but she thought he didn't till she walked past Miro's dorm to her Miro say, Tamaki stop hiding it and tell her your feelings as Nijire wondered who it was then suddenly Tamaki said, how am I supposed to tell Nijire I love her? As Nijire was in shock and just knocked on the door as Mirio opened it and said, hey Mirio can I talk to Tamaki for a bit? As Mirio realized that she heard it but acted normal saying, oh okay, as Tamaki followed Nijire to her room as Nijire then said, hey Tamaki I heard what you and Mirio talked about, she said while blushing as Tamaki was shocked but said, why you heard, as she nodded and then said, well Tamaki I love you too, as Tamaki was so shocked but happy as he said again but this time to her, I love you Nijire, as they shared a kiss and they told Mirio who was so happy to finally see his best friend find his true love. Mirio x Itsuka this happened in a different way but more of Mirio saw Itsuka at the beauty pageant at the sport festival and when he saw Itsuka, he felt a warm feeling something he remember feeling after his few encounters with Itsuka which they shared some conversation and he really liked how positive she is and wanting to help and try to bring more women to not be looked down on and to be seen as capable heroes like Maruko, Ryukyu, MP Lady and notably Nana Shimura who Itsuka really admired as. This made him start to fall in love with her. Itsuka was nervous at first as Mirio was UA's #1 but kept her cool and realized he really had an amazing spirit and longing to be a hero, which she felt a warm feeling, as well as Mirio also gave her advice on how to use her quirk even better and said her quirk is really amazing, as back in middle school boy in the school would look down on her quirk while the girls say it's more manly than womanly, as this really made Itsuka fall in love with him. Over time, after a few more hangouts sometimes with Nijire and Tamaki as well Mirio, then one day after hanging out Nijire and Tamaki went back to UA earlier, leaving Itsuka and Mirio behind, mainly as Itsuka told Nijire she liked Mirio and Mirio told Tamaki he liked Itsuka, so they wanted to leave them alone and try to get them together. So Mirio and Itsuka walked to the beach while chatting as Mirio thought to himself, I think I should tell her how I feel, as he looked at Itsuka and who was admiring the look of the beach as he said, Kendo, as she looked at him as he continued, I really admire how you want to be a hero, you are so passionate, kind, as he softly said, appealing, which she heard and blushed as he continued, Itsuka Kendo, I love you, I know we have an age gap, and, which she suddenly kissed him and said, I love you too. Mirio, and you are so kind and supportive to me and even helped me with my quirk, and I do not care if you are older than me, I love you, as they both smiled as they said one more time as they both said, I love you Itsuka/Mirio, as they kissed one more time before returning to UA, as Itsuka told her class and Mirio told the big three, as they all congratulated them and they became very happy. Ever since, this is just another part for some ships in my story, but this part's main focus is eraser joke, cause I find there is a lot to be written, so yeah, let's begin. Ever since the return of Oboro, pro hero Eraserhead, also known as Shota Aizawa, had become better knowing that his best friend is back, was asked something by his 𝗔𝗵𝗃, Nemuri and Oboro, which is to finally accept Emi Fukukato, also known as pro hero Miss Joke's love. But Shota thought to himself that he needed to take some time and spend that time hanging out with Emi, which he then told his friends as they smiled happy to hear that he would try in the future. It was when Momo and Izuku announced their adoption for Eri, as Izuku suddenly remembered how Mr. Aizawa was when he saw Miss Joke during the provisional license exam. He could tell that his sensei liked the pro hero, as he noticed Mr. Aizawa was secretly smiling when her name was brought up during a talk where present Mike suddenly blurted out her name but didn't want to make an assumption about it till he was told about it by Midnight and Oboro, who seemed to eager to get them together and requested Izuku to try and talk to his homeroom teacher, with Mike staying quiet thinking of what angry Aizawa would do to him, while Izuku thought to himself, I should try to help sensei, as he agreed, and the two of them thanked him while Mike saying, hopefully you don't die young listener, as the three of them walked away, and Izuku suddenly remembering the hell Aizawa had gave the class, which made him shiver before saying, I want to help my sensei, so I should give it a shot. Shota, who was in his room, who remembered what his three friends said about asking Emi out, but he then thought to himself, I have rejected Emi's feelings ever since the death of Oboro. I rejected it as I didn't want any more people to enter my life, especially those who I love and care about. Moreover, I was worried if I fell in love with Emi I would lose her as well, but after all this time, even after graduating hero school, she is still asking me to marry her. Should I finally take that chance to finally be close with her? I think I should, and thank you problem child for telling me that I shouldn't worry about it anymore, as he remembered Izuku Midoriya walking to him saying, hey sensei, as Aizawa looked at Midoriya as he continued, do you like Miss Joke? This made Aizawa blush softly but said, no. This made Izuku shook his head saying, I know you're lying sensei, when you saw her at the provisional license exam I noticed you blushing and embarrassed, and if you are wondering if Midnight and Oboro asked for my help I accepted it, but I really want to help you too, and if really are thinking if you should take that chance to ask her out even after rejecting her cause of your past, well you should sensei, as it is something Momo and I noticed when Miss Joke asked you to marry her. To most of the people they thought it was a joke, but to her as we saw that look she gave, she really meant it. This made Aizawa shocked as he never seen Midoriya talk in such a serious matter before, but was feeling happy to hear that Emi really wanted to marry him, as he said, alright then, thank you problem child, I will do my best, as Izuku smiled and walked away. It has been a couple days since then, as Aizawa looked at his phone scrolling to see Emi's contact as he was hesitant but dialed the phone. Miss Joke POV, I was just laying at home only to hear someone was calling me, but to my utmost surprise it was Shota, the man I loved since high school, and I knew he was broken, especially after his friend Shirakumo, who died but I heard was recently brought back. This made me happy hearing that Shota will be happy again, but it made me wonder, will he really accept my love? But I picked up the phone only to hear, "Hello, Emi," as I was shocked it was actually Shota, not Mike or Midnight, taking his phone to just call me, so I replied, Hey Shota, why did you call me? Aizawa, who was scared at first but finally said, "I wanted to ask, would you like to go on a date with me?" This made Emi Fukukado shocked as she couldn't believe what he said and asked one more time, "Do you really mean it, Shota?" As he said, "Yes, I mean it." I was smiling and tearing up. I was so happy to hear those words from him after all these years as I replied, "Alright, is it a date?" As Aizawa smiled through the phone saying, "How about tomorrow?" As I smiled saying, "Alright then, see you tomorrow." As Aizawa said goodbye and ended the call. The call ended, I just around and ran across my room saying, "Oh my god, oh my god, this really happening? Is this a dream?" Shota asked me on a date. Oh my god, what? As I calmed down and breathed saying, "Calm down, Emi, let's just sleep and get ready for tomorrow," as she fell asleep excited for the next day. End of POV. Aizawa, who smiled hearing that Emi accepted his date, was very happy but kept his cool as he thought to himself, "Thank you, problem child," as he too fell asleep excited for what is to come tomorrow. It was the next day. Aizawa and Emi had changed into their clothes getting ready for their date as he and Emi went to meet up at a restaurant which he had reserved. The two of them blushed at the look of how one another looked before Aizawa offered his hand, which Emi gladly took, and they went for their date, which at the end of it with Emi saying, "Thank you, Shota, I had a great time, let's do it again," as Aizawa smiled saying, "Of course I had a great time too," as he then asked, "Would you like me to send you home?" as Emi smiled saying, "Of course," as he sent Emi of before she left. She gave him a kiss on the cheek as she walked away smiling. Aizawa blushed and smiled before walking back to Yua. As he returned to Yua only to see Hisashi, Namuri and Obe ruining to him saying, "Shota, where the hell have you been? We've been calling you for hours, and why are you dressed so nicely and formal?" As Aizawa just smiled walking past his friends saying, "I was on a date with Emi," as he walked away smiling, leaving the friends in shock of what he said as his three friends looked at each other saying, he finally asked her, as they were cheering as they were so happy to see not just Aizawa smiling but going on a date with Emi. It has been a few weeks since that date. Aizawa and Emi went on a few more dates as they got closer and closer as they really fell in love with each other. They were at a rooftop garden as Aizawa looked at Emi and said, "Emi," as she looked at him saying, "Why do you still love me so much? I had pushed you away for years. Ever since Oboro's dead I had neglected your feelings and help. I barely talked to you and basically ghosted you for years, but after all this time why do you still love me?" As Emi was shocked as her hand was holding Aizawa's face saying, "I love you because I like who you are. I knew that Oboro's death affected you, but me trying to help you to you disappearing from my life, I could never forget the memories we made, and after all this time I love you so much, Shota." As Aizawa started tearing up saying, "Thank you, Emi, I love you too." As Emi cried tears of joy before the two of them pulled each other into a passionate kiss as Aizawa pulled back while both are panting and said, Emi panting, "Let's go to your home," as she smiled, and the two held hands and walked to Emi's home. The two went to Emi's house. The maid out, took off their clothes and did it for many hours as they had the night of their lives as Emi at the end laying on top of Aizawa sighing, "I am so happy, Shota, thank you so much, I love you," as Shota smiled saying, "No thank you, Emi, for making me so happy," as the both smiled and kissed each other one more time before falling asleep. Plus the two thought to themselves, "The person I love loves me back. I am so happy and I will never ever let this go." This continues after a few months after Momo had given 𝗵𝗃 to her twins Toshinori and Hinako. So now let's begin. It has been 2 years ever since the 𝗵𝗃 of Toshinori and Hinako. Everyone in class 1A and 1B plus the teacher and the big three had met them during this time. Kota and Eri have been hanging out more and the both mastered their quirks and unlocked the quirks Momo had given them. Since they unlocked their quirks, they used the location quirk, the most traveling between UA and the Wild 𝗵𝗃𝗏's headquarters, to play with each other. All Might and Inko even had gotten a child named Izumi, which Izuku was very happy to have a baby sister. She had All Might's hair color with lighter green eyes. Momo and Izuku made more love, being happy to spend time together with their children, friends and family, and the couple was so happy, especially when their children took their first steps and sang their first words. But shockingly, the twins had shown glimpses of their quirk, which Momo used to analyze her quirk to check what they were. What shocked her is the quirks that both twins have, which are Ofa with Limitless, which will fully activate after 10 quirk creation, same as Ofa, Immortality, Location, enhanced reflexes, MSTR of hand-to-hand combat and weaponry, but they have to train to fully use the quirks. I know, shocked that they're overpowered, but with overpowered parents it kinda makes sense. Also Eri had asked Tenko if he would like to had his family back, and All Might asking if she could bring Sir Night-Eye back as well, which she did, and everyone had an amazing reunion. Tenko and his father talked and apologized for everything. Nana also apologized to her son and hugged him after telling him the true reason for leaving him, which he forgave her, and the 𝗕𝗵𝗲 family was happy ever since. With the return of Night-Eye, which made Mirio super happy and allowed Bubble Girl and 𝗬𝗫𝗏 to finally relax after all the paperwork which Sir Night-Eye could finish while the two had struggled. Also during this time Mandalay went out on dates with Present Mike, which was kinda shocking, with Tenko going out with Pixie Bob. Aizawa surprisingly proposed to Emi, which she said, YSSSSS, which after a few weeks had their wedding ceremony with Oboro, Mike, and surprisingly Izuku himself as his best man, while Nemuri and Momo were her bridesmaids. Now Emi is expected to have twins, which happened especially when Momo was thinking of quirks. She create a random quirk of whoever was close to her, like for girls who are the teachers, pro heroes, Nijire and Class 1A and 1B, which will allow them for their first 2 pregnancies to be successful and to expect twins, 1 boy and 1 girl from each 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝐻𝐻𝗏. This shocked the boys, some of which fainted but woke up after, who were happy that is they and their lovers are planning to have kids. That will be the case. The girls were happy too, as if they are to go in labor. Recovery girl whom Momo gave a quirk which whoever the 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏 women who has had a full 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝐻𝗁𝐻𝗏, she can touch their tummies and the babies will appear in front of the mother's arms. During this 2 years Momo and Izuku went on many dates and holidays together as the couple became happier and happier. Now to Class 1A and 1B graduating Izuku and Mirio were talking as Mirio asked, "Hey Izuku, are you planning on proposing to Momo after graduation?" Which Izuku nodded and asked Mirio, which he said, "Yeah, I am planning to," which the rest of the boys of Class 1A, 1B, Tamaki and teachers came to them and had a plan, as they all wanted to propose to their lovers. As someone said, "Hey, how about Izuku and Mirio propose to their girls first, and after that the rest of us propose to ours too," as everyone looked to see Denki Kaminari actually saying something smart which shocked them but said it was a good plan. As Mr. Aizawa said, "Izuku midoriya," which he went up on stage as he shook Mr. Aizawa's hand as he said, "You have done well, problem child, and thank you for giving me that talk 2 years ago. Now happy graduation, pro hero Deku," as Izuku smiled saying, "Thank you Mr. Aizawa, I couldn't do it without you," as he smiled and walked off. It was the end of graduation when Izuku walked to Momo as he kneeled in front of everyone, which shocked Momo as she thought, "No, it can't be," saying, "Momo Yaoyorozu, thank you for being part of my life, helping me to achieve my dreams, for giving me so much love and dedication while also having such an amazing family and mother of my kids, and I just want to say Momo Yaoyorozu," as he opened a box to show a diamond ring, "Will you marry me?" As she shouted, "Yesies, I will, and Izuku, I want to tell you something too. I am 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏 with twins," as he put the ring on her finger and said, "Yes, I am gonna have more kids," while Eri sang more sisters and brothers, as she told Toshinori and Hanako, who were slightly confused at first but said, "Hi, more sister and brother," while Inko and Hana said, "More grandbabies," as All Might and 𝗫𝗫𝗁 looked at each other happy but prayed for their back account. Once again the couple kissed as everyone cheered. As Itsuka looked to only see Mirio kneeling down as she thought, "Could it be?" which shocked everyone to see another proposal, as Mirio said, "Itsuka Kendo, thank you for being such a strong and amazing woman who has helped me so much in life, so one who made me happy and someone showed me much love, and I just want to say Itsuka Kendo," as he opened a box to show a ring as well, "Will you marry me?" as she said, "Yesies," and Mirio, "I just wanted to say I am 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏 too with twins," as he lifted her up saying, "I'm gonna be a dad," as they kissed with everyone cheering them on. Suddenly the boys of Class 1A and 1B, even Tamaki and some of the teachers, went to their lovers and all kneeled down, which shocked the crowd, parents, students and some teachers, as they all went to their lovers asking them, "Will you marry me?" which they all accepted, while the girls, notably Kyoka, Mina, Tsuyu, Toru, Ochako, Kami, Reiko, Miruko, Ryukyu, Impi Lady, Midnight, Toga, Mandalay, Ragdoll and Pixie Bomb sang, "I am 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏," which their lovers are all happy for, as the crowd cheered as Izuku and Momo thought to themselves, "Plus, this is the most amazing graduation ever and I hope this shall never end." So this is after Izuku had proposed to Momo, and surprisingly both families had already planned for their wedding, which the wedding ceremony started in 2 weeks, but now it is the day before the ceremony and Izuku and Momo having a nice talk before having to leave each other to get ready for their special day. So now let's begin. Izuku POV 2 weeks ago I had proposed to Momo, the love of my life, Momo Yaoyorozu, and now the two of us are getting ready for our wedding as we had a nice talk before kissing each other goodbye while Hana and Kensher picked her up to meet up with her bridesmaid. While for me I went to meet up with my groomsmen who were the boys of Mirio Togata, Shiso and Aizawa, since he did ask Izuku to be his groomsman after all. As we get ready for my wedding, which I will finally get to marry the love of my life. Momo POV I had just kissed Izuku goodbye as I left with my parents to meet up with my bridesmaids who are the girls of Itsuka, Reiko and Emi. As I was so exciting thinking that tomorrow I will finally get to marry the love of my life. As they all got ready for the wedding, everyone that was invited were Class 1B the teachers, Todorokais including Toga and Kami, but as a bridesmaid the ex-League of Villains, Lady Nagant, Stain, Sernaitai, Bubble Girl, Centipeter, Wild PP Cats with Kota, Gran Torino, Recovery Girl, Melissa who sees Izuku as a brother as is already dating someone from America, and David Shield, Katsuma, Mahoro and their father who Izuku and the rest of the class visit once in a while Kota and Eri use their location. Quirk often to play together. Mahoro and Katsuma think of Eri and Kota as their siblings too showed up to the wedding. That was what Momo's dress looks like, and this is Izuku's suit. I know they look hella amazing, right? Oh yeah, I forgot this is how Eri looks like. I know they look hella amazing, right? Oh yeah, I forgot this is how Eri looks like. I know they look hella amazing, right? Oh yeah, I forgot this is how Eri looks like. One, she wore something like that, couldn't find anything better. So now let's continue on Izuku with the rest of the guys who are ready for the wedding, as everyone was giving him motivation as he was kind of nervous as everyone cheered him on till All Might entered and said, "Young Midoriya, you don't have to be nervous, you have done well and you are finally gonna marry the one you love, you can do it, son." This made Izuku smile, saying, "Alright, thanks dad," as he hugged All Might and was happy to hear it as Inko then came and said while tearing up, "Oh my baby boy, I am so proud of you, don't have to be nervous, I know you are strong, I am happy to see that you are finally marrying her and I am proud to have you as my son," as Izuku teared up while hugging Inko saying, "Thank you mom, you have helped me and supported me for all my life, thank you, and I am happy to have you as my mother," as both smiled while All Might and Inko walked back to the hall while the rest of his groomsmen was tearing up seeing such a wholesome sight. One Momo with the rest of the girls who were ready for the wedding, while Momo excited but yet nervous as Evrio was telling her you can do it girl, as Hana and Kensher walked in as they both said, "You look appealing Momo," as she went to hug her parents as Hana said, "You don't have to be nervous sweetheart, you have found an amazing man which I am happy for you as my strong, passionate and determined girl found the one she loves, I am proud to have you as my mother," as Kensher added, "Momo, you have done amazingly, I am so happy to have you as my daughter, seeing growing up now going to be married to the love of your life, so don't be nervous, okay, we are here for you," as Momo, trying very hard not to try to not ruin the makeup, said, thank you dad, I am happy to have you as my parents too," as they hugged her back and they walked away with the rest of the girls smiling as they themselves are trying to hold their tears. The groomsmen with the bridesmaids have entered as Izuku, who was standing at the altar as he saw Momo walking in with Kensher, as he thought to himself, "She is so appealing," as Momo looked to Izuku and thought to herself, "So handsome," as they reached the altar as Momo and Izuku who are now looking at each other. As the priest then said, "We are here to congratulate the marriage between Izuku Midoriya and Momo Yaoyorozu," as everyone clapped and cheered as he continued, "The vows to the groom Izuku Midoriya, do you take Momo Yaoyorozu to be your wedded wife, to have and hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love, to cherish, till death do us apart, and will always stay true to these vows and faith?" "I do," Izuku replied, "the vows to the bride Momo Yaoyorozu, do you take Izuku Midoriya to be your wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love, to cherish, till death do us apart, and will always stay true to these vows and faith?" "I do," as Momo replied, as the see Eri walking down the aisle with the rings as she gave to Momo and Izuku, "Here mama and papa," as they both smiled saying, Thank you snowflake/angel, as Eri smiled and walked back to her grandparents. The priest then said, now you may put on the rings. As the couple know, the newly wedded couple put on their rings as he said, congratulations, you are now Momo Midoriya, and now you may kiss the bride. The two kissed with all their love as the let go, with everyone cheering, shouting 𝐎𝐻𝐢𝐫, while Eri, Hinako and Toshinori shouted 𝗓𝗏𝗄 as the couple smiled as everyone enjoyed the wedding with all their love as the let go, with everyone cheering, shouting 𝗓𝗏𝗄, while Eri, Hinako and Toshinori shouted 𝗓𝗏𝗄 as the couple smiled as everyone enjoyed the wedding. It was at the dancing ring as Izuku then said to Momo while putting out his hand, would you care to with me, my love? As she smiled, putting her hand on his, saying, of course, my love, as the couple danced and everyone joined in celebrating the amazing day. The couple bid their farewells to everyone as they entered a limousine that will be taking them to their plane for their honeymoon, as Hana, Kensher, Inko and All Might promised to look after Eri, Hinako and Toshinori while they're gone, as Kensher went to Izuku as he said, I am proud of you, my son-in-law, enjoy your honeymoon and take care of my daughter, as Izuku smiled saying, of course I will, thank you Kensher, as Kensher smiled walking back as All Might came and said, well done son, I hope that you will enjoy your honeymoon and we will take care of your kids till you return, as he smiled saying, thanks dad, as All Might smiled and walked away. Inko then went to Momo and said, I am proud of you Momo, please enjoy your honeymoon and take care of my son, alright, as Momo smiled saying, of course I will, thank you Inko, as Inko smiled as she walked to All Might. Hana then walked to Momo and said, I am proud of you my baby girl, please enjoy your honeymoon and don't have too much fun, as Momo blushed and smiled while saying, thank you mom, I will, as they hugged and Hana walked back to Kensher. Eri, Hinako and Toshinori walked to Momo and Izuku as they said, Mama, Papa, enjoy yourselves, we will be good to grandmas and grandpas. The couple smiled, kissing all their foreheads and saying, you guys take care, okay? As they three nodded and ran back to their grandparents. As they entered the car and started driving away, everyone waved to them saying goodbye and have fun, as the newlyweds waved back and then looked at each other saying, I am so happy Momo/Izuku, I am so happy to finally marry you and I promise to stay true to my vows. As they looked at each other as they kissed saying, I love you one more time. As they went to airport as both thought to themselves, I have finally married the one I love, I promise to always cherish their love as to never ever let them go. Momo and Izuku had just finished their wedding and now have arrived at the airport to take a plane to a special isla, and just for them tis will also be a short chapter as I don't know much to write, sorry, but now let's begin. Momo and Izuku as arrived to the airport and just boarded the private jet as both said wow as they looked at the plane's interior. Momo and Izuku as arrived to the airport and just boarded the private jet as both said wow as they looked at the plane's interior, as both looked at each other being so happy as they entered the jet as they sat down with Momo choosing to sit on Izuku's lap. The couple looked at each other feeling so much joy that they had gotten married and now are on their way to their special honeymoon. The two fell asleep not long after taking off as they feel asleep cuddling each other. Couple hours later the intercom said, we are arriving, as Izuku woke up kissing Momo's head and said, hey honey, time to wake up, we are arriving, as she woke up saying, morning dear, as she kissed him and then went to the bathroom in the jet to wash up. As they the two looked to see the island divided to two parts, image there is something connecting them together, one for super big families, one for a special spot. Image there is something connecting them together, one for super big families, one for a special spot. The two were shocked to see the island as they said to each other, oh my god. And as they landed they were welcomed by the staff. Apparently All Might and Kensher bought the island for them as they received a text from All Might and Kensher saying, we both the island for you guys for your honeymoon and maybe even future holiday getaways, hope you two enjoy. As they smiled and held each other's hands walking in as their luggages and everything had been unpacked, and so the two decided to take a bath together before exploring the islands. After their bath they explored the island, and what shocked them wasn't the gym, swimming pool or kitchen, but what shocked them the most is the water park built below, which looked like. After their bath they explored the island, and what shocked them wasn't the gym, swimming pool or kitchen, but what shocked them the most is the water park built below, which looked like. As they said, what the oh my freaking god, as their eyes shined in amazement. As Momo remember as the two of them have not eaten anything as they arrived, so she said, "Hey Aizu, how about we go and eat something first since we have one?" As they said. "What the oh my freaking god, 𝗧𝗪𝗧?" Their eyes shined in amazement as Momo remembered as the two of them have not eaten anything as they arrived, so she said, "Hey Aizu, how about we go and eat something first since we have not eaten anything since we got on the plane?" As Izuku nodded and said, "Of course, let's go." As they walked to the dining hall, which looked like this, as they said, "What the oh my freaking god?" As their eyes shined in amazement as Momo remembered as the two of them have not eaten anything as they arrived, so she said, "Hey Aiza, how about we go and eat something first since we have indoor at the deck?" The two we shocked and wondered, "How much did our dad spend?" As they looked at each other and giggled and got some food as both got katsudon and ramen to share, which looked like the two we shocked and wondered, "How much did our dad spend?" As they looked at each other and giggled and got some food as both got katsudon and ramen to share, which looked like as their eyes were sparkling as they start drooling a little and said, "𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗫 as they gobbled down their food as both were very hungry and just really liked how it tasted as they finished and went to the water park as their eyes were sparkling as they start drooling a little and said, "𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗫 as they gobbled down their food as both were very hungry and just really liked how it tasted as they finished and went to the water park. Over the past 2 weeks they had so much fun going to the water park, gym, dining hall and heading to the gym as Izuku still worked out and having the night of their lives, if you guys understand. Momo suddenly tapped her tummy on the day before as suddenly her babies popped up into her arms as her and Izuku were shocked and said, "It hasn't been 9 months, but actually Momo got hit my Aries quirk," as Eri touched her tummy, speeding it up by a few months, but her belly looked the same. But they too were very happy to see their children, who were twins, a boy and a girl, as Momo named the boy 𝗫, who had whitish black hair and Izuku's green eyes, and Izuku named the girl 𝗬𝗍𝗻, who also had Momo's whitish black hair and Izuku's green eyes. 3. They had fun spending time and playing with their babies. They took it as another gift for their amazing honeymoon, and Momo told the pilot the couple will just teleport back to Japan, as the pilot nodded, but Momo gave him money as a way to apologize for the inconvenience, which he was hesitant, but Momo insisted and thanked her for her kindness. So Izuku and Momo packed their bags, with Izuku carry the twins, one at the back, one at the front, which Momo giggled as the twins liked clinging on to Izuku, unlike Hanako and Toshinori, who liked clinging on to Momo. The two, before teleporting, took a stroll around the island as they looked to each other and said, "This was the most amazing honeymoon ever. I love you so much, Aizu/Momo," as they had passionate kiss and they teleported back to Japan. Well, Momo and Izuku had enjoyed their honeymoon and had a great time, even having the twins bonner during that time too, and now they have just returned to Japan, so let's begin. Momo and Izuku had just arrived at their home, a home their parents had bought for them, and I looked something like this. Momo and Izuku had just arrived at their home, a home their parents had bought for them, and I looked something like this, but imagine both of them combined, they had just opened to see their parents, wild 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗫 cats, Tenko, twice, who is dating Mandalay, and Pim, who is dating Ragdoll. With Kota and Eri playing at the back, with Hanako and Toshinori playing with their toys. Everyone looked to see the two finally back and welcomed them as they hugged their parents, as Inko and Hanako finally noticed 𝗫 and Izumi, as both said, Izuku/Momo, "Who are they?" As they replied, "They're your grandchildren, 𝗫 and Izumi." They were shocked and said, "What?" Surprisingly, the babies didn't wake up, but they were shocked as Momo then told them about Eri accidentally using her quirk, which Eri chuckled nervously. All the parents and the wild 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 cats were happy to see the twins. Hanako and Toshinori were happy to see their baby brother and sister. Same goes to Eri, while Kota had to calm her excitement down. The couple then said that, "Wanna have some lunch?" as everyone nodded as they went to cook. After dinner, the parents and wild 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 cats asked them about, as the couple told them everything and showed them pictures as well, as they were happy and shocked that how much fun they had. Izuku then said, "Should we tell our friends and the others?" as they nodded, but they will do it tomorrow, as the wild 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 cats stayed for the night, same with the parents, and they fell asleep. Also, heads up if you didn't know already, the Todoroki family added 2 more kids named Shoko and Shoka, a boy and a girl, both half and halves like Todoroki, and those twins had a very happy childhood with their parents and siblings. Now it was the next day, as Momo and Izuku invited everyone over as they opened the doors to see the Todoroki family, which includes Kami and Toga, Class 1A and 1B, Big 3, the Shimura family, Mr. Compress, Mange Spinner, Lady Nagant, Stain, Aizawa with Joke, Oboro and Midnight, Present Mike, Gran Torino, Recovery Girl and Principal Nizu came in. As Izuku and Momo showed the twins as everyone blinked like crazy as they were in shock as Ms. Joke said, Are these your kids, the one you were 𝗵𝗃𝗏 with like 2 months ago, which Momo nodded as the said, 𝗕𝗶𝗃𝗏, as surprisingly the babies just smiled and were not scared of them screams as the girls asked, 𝐻𝗔𝗵𝗶𝗏, as Momo then explained what happened, which 𝐒𝐻𝐢 was rubbing the back of his head while nervously smiling and 𝗂𝗏 just laughing at how she did it. As everyone calmed down, they had a lot of chats and fun as the guys and kids went to the pool while the girls just watched them while drinking cocktails and laughing with the kids playing at the children pool, with 𝗂𝗏 using his quirk to let the twins floats and 𝗬𝗢, as well as they all giggled with Mandalay and Momo fangirling over what 𝗂𝗏 was doing, seeing when 𝗂𝗏 and 𝗬𝗢 will get together. At the end of day, everyone had dinner with class 1A, 1B, Todoroki and Shimura family except for Tenko. Mr. Compress, Magna, Stain, Lady Nagantho is dating Natsuo after running into him a few times and going out after, and their age gap isn't that big as the immortality quirk brought Nagant back to 24, Spinner taking their leave while Aizawa, Joke, Oboro, Midnight and Mike stayed as they big farewell and left while Miss Joke got hit by Miss Accidental Area again, which changed her due date to 4 days, which Aizawa was not worried but happy as everyone who were still around congratulated them, with 𝗬𝗢 apologizing but Aizawa and Joke saying, Don't be sorry 𝗬𝗢, actually we are happy we get to meet our kids quicker, so thank you, as 𝗬𝗢 smiled and hugged them before going to look after Kensher and Izumi with them the help of 𝗂𝗏, Hinako and Toshinori. At midnight the kids had fallen asleep with 𝗂𝗏 and 𝗬𝗢 in one room while Momo and Izuku had put Hinako and Toshinori in their bed and Kensher and Izumi to their crib. The adults they played some games at the basement like pool, and others the guys had pee tales while the girls had some fruit juice with snacks too and went to bed at 3 a.m. Aizawa and Miss Joke, who were in the guest room laying down and cuddling with Miss Joke, as she said, I can't believe Shota, I am giving 𝗵𝗃𝗏 2 days, I can't believe it, I am so happy, I can't wait to see our little ones soon, as he smiled and said, I am shocked too, but I am excited to meet my children, I will do my best to make them and you happy, I love you so much Emmy, as she smiled replying, I love you too Shota, as they kissed and fell asleep. With Momo and Izuku on their bed cuddling each other while Izuku said, Thank you Momo, I had so much fun today and to see our family grow, I love you so much, as Momo smiled and said, Thank you Aizu, and maybe let's have more in the future, I love you too, as Izuku said, I do not mind having more kids, as they smiled they kissed passionately as they fell asleep. Miss Joke was in UA with Aizawa holding her hand while everyone waited as Recovery Girl has came as she touched Joke's belly as 2 children popped up in her arms. It was a boy and a girl. They had Joke's green with Aizawa's black hair. Their eyes were dark green as Recovery Girl said, Congratulations, as Aizawa and Joke were so happy as they kissed, and she asked, So Shota, what are we gonna name them? He smiled saying, How about you name the girl I am the boy, as she smiled and looked at the girl, saying, Mira Aizawa, while Aizawa looked at the boy and said, Izumo Aizawa, as they kissed their foreheads and everyone came in to congratulate them. Everyone left as Aizawa looked at Izuku and Momo saying, The boy's name is Izumo, I took it from both of your names, as the two smiled and said, Thank you sensei, as he smiled saying, You don't have to call me sensei, you guys have graduated. They replied, You will forever be our sensei. They smiled with Joke and Aizawa smiling as they left with Joke and Aizawa looking at their twins and gave a passionate kiss and are excited to see where life takes them. Time skip. It has been 10 years since Momo and Izuku had gotten married and had Kensher and Izumi. Momo also brought back 𝗂𝗏's parents, which made him very happy, and the rest of class 1A, 1B teachers, Nagant, Wild 𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏, Tsuyu, Toga, twice. Tenko had gotten married. Melissa married a guy named Hiro whose quirk was the same as hers and is a #1 hero in Amarisha, and Fuyumi, who married a guy named Hiroshi, was the new #1 villain, but he only kills fake heroes and villains, as he is also helping the Hero Society from within, which the government knows about, and they had kids, with most of them having 2 sets of twins, 2 bots and 2 girls, while some had another set of twins, making their family having 3 boys and 3 girls, who were notably Aizawa and Joke, Mirio and Itsuka, Nagant and Natsuo, Toga and Tsuyu, Tenko and 𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏, twice, and Mandalay, Jiro and Denki, Shoto and Kami, Katsuki and Ochako, Ida and Mei, Kirishima and Mina, Miruko and Hawks, Empty Lady and Kamui, Ryukyu and 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Lastly, Nijire and Tamaki, but for Izuku and Momo they had made so much love enjoying their lives as pro-heroes and having their family that they had 2 more sets of twins and 1 set of triplets which had 2 boys and 1 girl. Also, Momo managed to make a DNA-changing quirk which Eri asked if Momo could change her DNA to have Izuku and Momo as her biological child, which Momo did, and Eri became their biological child, but her appearance didn't change, just her DNA, which made her very happy to know that she is BLD related to her parents, who were very happy as well. Everyone has become pro-heroes, but some came into the top 10 world rankings who were world number 1 Deku, world number 2 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏, world number 3 Dynamite Bakugo, world number 4 Flaming Blizzard Shoto, world number 5 Lemillion, world number 6 Miruko, world number 7 Charge Bolt Denki, world number 8 Earphone Jack, world number 9 Hawks, world number 10 Ryukyu. Yep, they became the top 10 world heroes while the others are in the top 20. 30 and 40. I know, right? Hella up, and also they use their ranks to build more schools, hospitals, healthcare centers and training centers for those who can't control their quirk, and those centers can help them, also donating money to with the help of all the world governments to help low-income families, struggling businesses and more. But now let's go to Eri and Koda, who got together 𝗬𝗂𝗧𝗏 and now 3rd years in UA and are the big 4 with 𝗬𝗏 and Mahoro, but the 4 of them actually became pros at their first year but stayed in UA to finish their education. But since the rest of the adults were in the world rankings, the 4 of them became Japan's top 4 heroes as they saved many people and inspired many young ones to always try their best, and their rankings are: number 1 Eri, whose quirk became true time manipulation; number 2 Poseidon Koda, whose quirk can now manipulate the seas and cause earthquakes; he can even summon water horses and use a trident. Number 3 Aurora Mahoro, as her quirk showed illusions, but she can let out a calming aurora to calm everything around her. Number 4 The Cure, as 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏's healing can cure any illness or injures, as most people do not know the true extent of Eri's quirk. The 𝗬𝗏 and Mahoro also found a love interest who were the adopted kids of Tsuyu and Toga, who found them abandoned, named 𝐒𝐻𝐁 and Akari, both having darkness manipulation, which back before Izuku became well known were treated as villains, but when they met Mahoro and 𝗬𝗏 they treated them like best friends, which they over time became closer and started dating, which Koda and Eri were very happy for. Now Izuku and Momo, who are playing with their kids, while Eri, who got dressed up as she was going on a date with Koda, but little did she know that Koda met up with Izuku and Momo the day before and asked, Izuku and Momo, I would like to ask if I could marry your daughter, which they both smiled and said, of course, we have been waiting for too long for you to ask that, as Koda said, when as Momo replied, well, Eve, since you and Eri became friends as you were her first friend and someone who didn't say her quirk is a curse and gave her love, and to be honest, Mandalay and I had already made wedding plans for you too, which made Koda shocked and said, wow, thank you, I promise I will make her happy and her all the love I have, as the two smiled and said, we know you will. Now Koda and Eri, who went out on their date as they went to a rooftop garden which the two went since they were kids, which only the two of them and their parents know of, as it was bought by Momo and Izuku, as the two SW how much they liked it and bought it, making it private place as well. Koda and Eri were holding hands walking through the garden as he said, hey Eri, as she looked to see Koda kneeling down and thought to herself, no OMG, is he really going to propose? Please tell me 𝗳𝗏𝗧𝗏. Koda as he said, thank you for being such an amazing person since we were kids, the first friend that made me truly smile and feel joy. I am so happy to have you as my girlfriend and I just want to say I love you. As he opened a box to show a diamond ring, will you marry me? As Eri said, thank you Koda for being my first friend who didn't say my quirk is a curse, making me feel happy, so loved, and so it is a yes, I would love to marry you, I love you. As he put the ring on her finger as they hugged and gave a very passionate kiss, as Eri also said, Koda, as she looked at her as she said, 𝗵𝗃𝗏, which he was shocked, but he remembered a few days ago Eri asked if they wanted to do it for the first time, which they did, which he was excited and said, I'm gonna be a dad with twins, a boy and a girl, as Koda remembered the quirk Momo used for 2 sets of twins, as he said, 2 bundles of sunshine, as the two smiled and had a passionate kiss. They then returned to Eri's home to see Izuku, Momo, her grandparents, wild PP cats with twice, Tenko and Mike, and Koda's parents sitting down chatting while playing with the kids as they looked to them and welcomed them in, and Eri then showed them the ring as the girl said, 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏. as everyone hugged them as the guys patted Koda's back and said, "Good job," as he said thank you while Izuku and Momo said, "I see you finally proposed," as he nodded with Eri asking her parents, Dad, you guys knew he will propose. As they said, "Yep," as he asked for our blessings a few days ago, as everyone smiled while Eri kissed Koda and said, "You cheeky one," as he chuckled before Eri saying, "We have one more thing to say," as they looked as Eri said, "Mom, Dad, you're gonna be grandparents important," as everyone was shocked and blinked before saying, "W," while her siblings said, "Yeah, big sis gonna have children and we can play with them in the future," as the siblings hugged their big sister while the adults said, "Wow, congratulations," as Inko and Hana said, "Great grand babyus," with Momo, Izuku, Lirio and random names for Koda's parents saying, "Grandbabyusis," as they all hugged while Momo, Hana, Inko, Pixie Bob, Mandalay, Ragdoll and Leah saying, "Shopping time for the babies," as the husbands looked at each other and shivered knowing they will spend like never before but chuckled. They then told the rest of Class 1A, 1B, teachers, Todoroki and Shimura family with Kami, Toga, Hiroshi, Nagant, Big 3, Shota, Joke, Oboro, Midnight, Magna, Mr. Compress, Spinner, Stain, Melissa and Hero, Gran Torino and Recovery Girl as everyone was shocked and cheered for them and after the wedding Koda and Eri as they were happy to finally marry each other the person they have loved for years and they went on a honeymoon one similar to Izuku and Momo but they also went to Island as well and during that time Eri wanted to meet her kids more quickly she used her quirk and the babies popped up on her hands which made Koda and her very happy as they meet their kids both their hairs had a mix of Eri and Koda while they have crimson red eyes. And when they returned they showed their families and friends the babies which everyone was happy to meet them. Over time Katsuma and Mahoro married their lovers they had 2 sets of twins one more on the way while Eri and Koda had 3 more sets of twins as they had a similar mindset to Izuku and Momo about wanting to have many kids and give them lots of love which made their family even more complete as they see so many bundles of joy. All the kids of Class 1A, 1B teachers and the others' children had joined UA and became heroes soon after everyone having their immortality enjoying their long lives having bigger families as everyone had children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren and more generations who are protecting the world from great evils and bringing peace between everyone and now those who are quirkless, weak quirk, villainous quirk, mutant quirks and normal quirks now all live peacefully with one another but there are still great evils that may arise but till then Izuku with his friends and family are all ready to protect this world till the very end leaving a smile on everyone's faces. Plus,